The Great Unity Immortal Primary Stage immediately noticed his magic artifact being smashed by the World Rock. He received the backlash and spat a mouthful of blood. That terrifying sound also caused chaos in his sea of consciousness. The Great Unity Immortal Primary Stage immediately noticed his magic artifact being smashed by the World Rock. He received the backlash and spat a mouthful of blood. That terrifying sound also caused chaos in his sea of consciousness. He immediately knew things wasn't good. Since when could an abstruse immortal middle stage smash his magic artifact immediately? Even if EMO really was abstruse immortal middle stage, that terrifying stone magic artifact wasn't something he could deal with. That rock, after released with magic, had a terrifying weight that ordinary magic couldn't deal with. The Great Unity Immortal realized this, so when the black rock smashed over again, he desperately released his only other magic artifact, while barely stopping the World Rock. Crack! The terrifying sound exploded again. This time, it was also smashed to pieces. He was backlashed by his magic artifact twice and spat many mouthfuls of blood. He realized he was completely no match for EMO. This abstruse immortal middle stage was too scary, or his black rock was too powerful. Stop! Seeing the rock smashed over again, he quickly called out. He really didn't understand why the exploding sound didn't injure EMO. EMO was going to stop. The World Rock smashed down without hesitation. Realizing that calling stop was useless, the Great Unity Immortal released another light barrier shielding him. At the same time, his figure began to dim inside. When the World Rock smashed on the yellow barrier, it paused for a brief moment. The barrier crippled and the World Rock charged in, but this time was enough for that Great Unity Immortal to disappear. Then, the World Rock floated before EMO. EMO was extremely uncomfortable. He didn't feel this Great Unity Immortal running at all. How did this guy get away? He didn't even feel space ripple at all. Just when EMO was certain the Great Unity Immortal was gone, Jinbingyu spoke with him. EMO immediately gave the control rights of the flying snow orb to Jinbingyu. Jinbingyu immediately came out and said to EMO, "There's an extra rock on your left." EMO immediately knew what Jinbingyu meant, and the World Rock flew up again, smashing at that rock in lightning speed. This rock was indeed a transformation magic used by that Great Unity Immortal. It was a good high-level magic. Although he turned into a rock, he was watching EMO non-stop. When Jinbingyu suddenly appeared, he knew EMO had a small world, but before he could react, the World Rock smashed down again. Seeing the World Rock land on his body, the Great Unity Immortal knew there was no time to run. He never had thought he would be killed by an abstruse immortal middle stage in a head-on battle. Blood mist sprayed, the rock was smashed to a meat pie. The rock disappeared, showing the body of the Great Unity Immortal. EMO released Shadowless to devour the Essence Spirit, and then picked up a storage ring. EMO opened the 2 storage ring he got. There were 8 million top-grade immortal crystals in total. The Great Unity Immortal had 6 million. Other than this, there were some immortal spirit herb and materials as well as jade slips. What EMO cared about the most were the contribution points. The 2 jade cards were blue. Seeing Soa Fei's jade card, EMO realized why this Great Unity Immortal must take Soa Fei's jade card. Soa Fei had 2 million contribution points, the Great Unity Immortal only had about 1 million. Soa Fei also had some other jade cards that had some contribution points. Some had none, some had a few 100,000. Finally got a little wealthier. EMO smiled at Jinbingyu. With all this, EMO was near 4 million contribution points. EMO took out his jade card, wanting to transfer the points to his jade card. But what shook EMO was he couldn't do it at all. What's going on? EMO looked at Jinbingyu in confusion. He easily transferred Feng Shangjian's contribution points. That card was green while these 2 were blue. Was it to do with this? Jinbingyu frowned. Ask someone later. Some of the jade cards in Soa Fei's storage ring are empty, meaning he transferred them, but there are some he couldn't. EMO nodded. He decided to go ask that brother Xian. Go into Flying Snow Orb. We'll go to the Mist Demon Palace now. EMO said and released Blue Moon immediately. When EMO came to the entrance again, there was just some broken restrictions but not a single person. It seemed the group had gone in already. Yemo went in without hesitation too. This place was more like a maze than a palace. There were twists and turns everywhere, countless corridors. Yemo walked for nearly an hour and didn't see a single person. He doesn't even remember the way back now. There would often be some rooms in the corridors, but inside was only bones and nothing else. The storage ring on the bones were gone. These bones were undoubtedly immortals who died here before. They probably couldn't get and eventually died to demonic immortal spirit beast. Jinbingyu saw this too and flew out of the flying snow orb. It seems we're late. There's definitely people who have a map of the inside here. People definitely have at least a simple map to get out. We don't have a map, we might get lost in here, Yemo said. This probably isn't a palace, it's a trap formation. My master told me about this, but I'm no formation great master, either is my master. She says if we don't have a map, we wouldn't even be able to get out, Jinbingyu said. Soon Yemo thought of something. He flipped out a few jade slips from his storage ring and found a jade slip with a map. He scanned his spirit sense in and rejoiced momentarily after. There's a map of the palace in here. It only has a marking of the exit, no precise map of the palace. Jinbingyu knew the jade slip probably came from the Great Unity Immortal and nodded. Actually, we have another way that doesn't include the map. Yemo was dizzy, he hated mazes. He quickly asked in joy. What way? Usually in such places, if we have spirit-seeking beasts we can follow them to find the most valuable room. Jinbingyu's words cooled Yemo down. He didn't have spirit-seeking beast. He had a snow fox in the Golden Page world, but that snow fox's level was too low and was now Luo Ying's pet. I don't have spirit-seeking beast. Yemo shook his head. He wasn't planning to walk around here, he was going to study the trap formation. No, you have something better than spirit-seeking beast. Jinbingyu shook her head. Yemo immediately understood and blurted. You're talking about Shadowless? Jinbingyu nodded. Yes, even though its level is low, it's definitely the most useful thing here. He can't tell you the exact situation, but he can definitely point to you the place with the best immortal spirit chi or the place that would benefit him the most. Yemo cursed himself for being dumb. Shadowless was a natural bottomless hole, it would eat anything that had immortal spirit chi. He only needed to order Shadowless to go to the place with the best immortal spirit chi. Shadowless was clearly very excited after Yemo called him out. It immediately blinked in front of Yemo and disappeared. Chapter 1650. How about no? Chapter 1650. How about no? With Shadowless leading the way, Yemo didn't go around cluelessly like before. In just half a day, he found an immortal spirit herb garden. There was just a few level 4 immortal spirit herb, but this was a target for Yemo. On the 9th day, Shadowless suddenly became excited. He sent Yemo a strong message and flew in through a tunnel. Yemo didn't have time to care what Jinbingyu thought and grabbed her hand and sent her into the flying snow orb before chasing Shadowless. In less than 5 minutes, Yemo followed Shadowless into a larger room. This room was larger than all the rooms he had been in. The first thing he saw was a light restriction in the center. He didn't look at what was inside and stopped instead, telling Shadowless to not run around. This was because he wasn't the first to come into this room. Before he came in, there was 4 people already. They were discussing HWO to divide the things in the restriction. At least they hadn't reached an agreement now, or this restriction would have been broken already. These 4 were all abstruse immortal tertiary stage power. The instant Yemo came in, they all looked at Yemo. Their expression was very strange, as though confused how Yemo could find here. It's you? One tall abstruse immortal tertiary stage called out in shock, clearly recognizing Yemo. Yemo saw this abstruse immortal tertiary stage, and immediately recognized him. This immortal was there when he left with that great unity immortal. Yemo had an impression of him because he was very tall. Brother Lu, you know this person? Another pretty-eyed immortal asked. Yes, I know. The tall abstruse immortal saluted with his fists. Brother Mo, I didn't expect you were this fast too. He knew Yemo's name was Emoing from the pink-dressed female immortal. He didn't dare to be rude to someone as powerful as Yemo. Yemo killed an abstruse immortal tertiary stage in one move and then left with another great unity immortal. It was clear that they were fighting with their lives. Now that Yemo was here, that great unity immortal was probably dead. How did you come here? Do you have a map too? The pretty-eyed immortal frowned, seeing Lu knew Yemo, and was very respectful to him. Yemo ignored this guy. His eyes scanned to the restriction in the room. There were 2 magic artifact and another jade slip. There were for here. Clearly they couldn't divide things. Are you deaf? Did you not hear me talking to you? That pretty-eyed immortal said. He was planning to let Yemo, who might have a map, leave. Yemo's attitude gave him an excuse. But then he looked at Lu with a little concern. The two seemed close. However, Lu saw this and saluted with his fists. Brother Emo, Lu will be going first. The things inside have nothing to do with me. Then he walked to the door. The abstruse immortal with Lu also left without hesitation. They both saw Yemo fight. Yemo wasn't even scared of Great Unity Immortal. Even though they had 4 here, they were probably no match for Yemo together. Plus, it was just 2 magic artifact here. No need to fight with Yemo. Seeing this, the pretty-eyed immortal glanced at his friend. He didn't understand why Lu was leaving. Yemo was just an abstruse immortal middle stage. Wait! Yemo suddenly stopped Lu. Lu shivered, but he stopped and saluted with his fists. Brother Emo, what do you need of me? The abstruse immortal tertiary stage with Lu also stopped. Do you have a map to be able to find here? Yemo asked. Lu quickly waved his hand. No, I accidentally found them 2 had a map, so I followed them. Okay, I have one more thing to ask. Yemo nodded. Please ask, Brother Emo. Lu had a very good attitude. When I got the green contribution card, I could easily transfer the points to my card. How come when I got a blue card I can't transfer it? Hearing this, Lu's face changed. He definitely didn't believe that Yemo didn't know about the 5 colored contribution cards. Now that he asked this, he was definitely warning him not to speak around. This meant that he had killed that Great Unity Immortal, and that Great Unity Immortal's contribution card was on him. If he dared to do anything, Emoing would definitely show no mercy. Little did he know that Yemo actually didn't know. Even though it was a warning, he didn't dare to not answer. Not only blue cards can't transfer, but even some green cards can't transfer. Why is this? Yemo asked in confusion. Seeing that Yemo seemed to really not know, Lu was confused, but he still answered carefully. Cards above green color can imprint Spirit Sense Mark. Of course you don't have to. Those with Spirit Sense Mark won't allow other people to transfer contribution points unless he removes the Spirit Sense Mark or control it with his own Spirit Sense. Yemo immediately realized those cards that couldn't be transferred already had Spirit Sense Mark. Seeing Yemo frown, Lu added, the Spirit Sense Mark is marked by the place that distributes the card. Ordinary immortals can't remove it. People who buy contribution jade cards can pay an additional 100k immortal crystals to mark with Spirit Sense. Yemo was annoyed. He had a few million contribution points, but how was he to remove the Spirit Sense Mark? How do you remove the Spirit Sense Mark? Yemo asked. Lu said, only the owner of the jade card can remove it. As long as the essence spirit still exists, the Spirit Sense Mark can be removed. Some immortals use their Spirit Sense Mark to trade for the freedom of their essence spirit. Thank you, Brother Lu. Yemo knew where the problem was. Hearing this, Lu saluted with his fists and disappeared in the corridors. As soon as Lu left, Yemo thought of another thing. He already killed So Fei, and his card also had Spirit Sense Mark. Why did that Great Unity Immortal still want So Fei's storage ring? Was it not for his jade card? Now, no matter how dumb the pretty-eyed immortal was, he realized Yemo was no ordinary. Otherwise, 2 abstruse immortal tertiary stage wouldn't immediately leave and be so respectful. The pretty-eyed abstruse immortal smiled and saluted with his fists. Friend, my surname is Tuesday. There's only us 3 now. There happens to be 3 things inside, we can have 1 each. Yemo moved his glance from the restriction and said coldly, Are you blind? Did you not see my look inside? This abstruse immortal immediately knew Emo was cursing him back for calling him deaf. He looked at his friend and saw him slowly shake his head, clearly signaling him not to start trouble. Emo could see it was a long sword and a blue flying sword inside, but he didn't know what grade they were. "Friend, what do you think of Marshal Brother Tiyu's suggestion?" the other abstruse immortal asked. Seeing Emo said nothing. "How about no?" Emo said calmly. "Leave your storage ring and piss off. You're asking to die." Lu couldn't take it anymore and released a black pebble. He threw it out, and his friend also released a huge flag. But before their magic artifact were fully released, Yemo's spirit sense blades and world rock smashed out. Thud. Thud. The black pebble was smashed by the world rock. Lu immediately felt he couldn't control it anymore, and then there was this twisting pain in his sea of consciousness. Such a terrifying weighting stone, such strong attack method. Tu immediately knew he was no match for Emo. The difference was too great. Even he and his friend combined was no match for Emo. He finally realized now why Lu immediately left seeing Emo. This guy was no weaker than Great Unity Immortal. "Hang foam, let's run!" Tu just said this and was about to run out of the room. Yemo's stone smashed at Hang Foam while a purple ray swept at Tuesday. Hang Foam knew that Yemo's power was not on the same level as theirs. He didn't completely release his flag and was about to dash out of the room before Tuesday. He took the opportunity and only paid the price of his magic artifact being destroyed and escaped Yemo's world rock. But just when he got to the door, an extremely bored Shadowless charged up. In just 2 strikes, the 2 abstruse immortal were killed by Emo and Shadowless. Emo took the storage rings but didn't take back world rock. He just smashed at the restriction. Crack, the restriction crippled quickly. This time Emo SWA clearly. The blue flying sword was a level 7 immortal artifact. This was top grade immortal artifact. There another frosty sword that was also level 7 immortal artifact. Emo put away the sword and gave the flying sword to Jinbingyu in the flying snow orb. Then he picked up that jade slip. It was an immortal range cultivation method, but it was completely useless to Emo, so he threw it into his storage ring. No wonder he asks if I had a map. Emo found a map from Tu's storage ring. It was very clear and marked all the routes in the palace clearly. This route didn't clearly say which room had magic artifact, but those people taking this route would go into a room when they see one for sure. There's actually such a clear map. Jinbingyu came out of the flying snow orb and saw the map. This map was indeed very clear. Emo was rejoiced that he got such a clear map, but hearing Jinbingyu's words, he was confused. This map was indeed very clear, but near the end it seemed to get obscure. This map didn't have a final destination. This is really interesting. Emo put away the map. You're suspecting this map? Jinbingyu asked. She knew this map was probably real, or this too wouldn't be able to find this room. I don't doubt the map, but I trust Shadowless more, Emo answered. If he didn't have Shadowless, he would have to follow the map, but he does have Shadowless, so why follow the map? Jinbingyu nodded and went into the flying snow orb. She trusted Yemo's judgment was correct. This map was a bit strange indeed. Shadowless capabilities were no weaker than the map, or he wouldn't have been able to find here in 9 days. In the next few days, Emo followed Shadowless. Emo felt Shadowless was more powerful than a map. He would find good things every time. He even got 2 level 7 immortal spirit herb. On top of that, Emo collected a lot of cultivation method jade slip and magic artifact on the way. Emo compared Shadowless' path with the map. Only the first few parts were similar, but then it became completely different. On the 29th day, Emo followed Shadowless through this twisted formation and came to a huge altar. There was a blue stage, and on it was a jade slip. The edge slip was under 2 faint golden materials. Sky Mobility Gold? Emo recognized the 2 golden materials. It was level 7 immortal material Sky Mobility Gold. It was for making top-grade flying magic artifact. Emo was immediately interested. Compared to Sky Mobility Gold, other level 7 materials were nothing. Without a doubt, the jade slip under it wouldn't be simple. Yemo's spirit sense scanned that aqua stage. He felt that the stage was on par with the sky mobility gold. As tough, it would be very useful to him as well. What was this? Yemo hesitated for a moment, and decided to break the restriction first, and then put it in his collection before studying. As soon as Yemo released the world rock, he felt an extreme sense of danger. The world rock instantly blocked behind him. Rumble. A black beam struck world rock. Yemo retreated tens of meters before barely stopping himself. His world rock was smashed away to the side. Yemo was shook. This was the first time he encountered a guy who could hack away world rock. Such powerful ambush. It was a great Unity Immortal without a doubt, a rather strong one too. But when Yemo settled his mind, he saw the person who stood before him seemed even younger than him. What shocked him even more was that this guy was Abstruse Immortal Tertiary Stage. Yemo had always been the one to instant kill Abstruse Immortal. Yet one day an Abstruse Immortal Tertiary Stage almost ambushed him and injured him lightly. The Abstruse Immortal Tertiary Stage was calm and his face sunken like water. He stared at Yemo as though contemplating something. In terms of looks, Yemo felt he was far from this guy. He was certain this guy was Abstruse Immortal Tertiary Stage indeed. But this ambushing handsome Abstruse Immortal was more shocked, but he didn't show it on his face at all. Ever since he came out, there had never been an Abstruse Immortal to survive under his ambush, much less an Abstruse Immortal Middle Stage. So what if it was Great Unity Immortal? He had killed more than a few. Yet this very young Abstruse Immortal Middle Stage not only stopped his ambush and was unscathed. Where did this guy come from? How could there be such a strong Abstruse Immortal Middle Stage? Was he like himself, having a huge secret? He came for that jade slip. Otherwise, why would he ambush an Abstruse Immortal Middle Stage? That jade slip was too important to him. Who are you here? How did you appear here? The Abstruse Immortal Tertiary Stage calmed his shock and stared at Yemo, asking. He had to know how Yemo came. Yemo saw this Abstruse Immortal Tertiary Stage had a black smoke around his wrist. Was that what struck away World Rock? Who are you? How did you appear here? Yemo asked as well. I'm Yen Jiutian. My heritage has left a map, so I came here. Unexpectedly, this Abstruse Immortal Tertiary Stage answered pridefully. Your heritage left behind a jade slip? Yemo asked. Show me. Yemo was being unreasonable. He didn't believe this guy would show him. However, Yen Jiutian threw a jade slip at Yemo without hesitation. It's here, you can see it. Yemo realized that Yen Jiutian was just telling him that the things here doesn't belong to him. Keep dreaming. Since he saw it, he would have to get it. Yemo scanned this jade slip and saw it was pretty much the same as what he got from Tuesday. The only difference was Tu's map didn't clearly point to here, but Yen Jiutian's did. Giving the map back, Yemo said calmly, My map is different. I have a few paths leading to here, but you only have one. Yen Jiutian's face changed, but then he sneered. I was wondering why. You bought the incomplete map I sold. Does your map only have the route but not this altar? Yemo dazed, selling such map out? Was his brain broken? What did he mean? Yemo dazed, selling such map out? Was his brain broken? What did he mean? Yemo didn't believe Yen Jiutian was this generous. So the map you got is mine. Of course it's your fortune to get the map, but it's what my heritage left me. I can only ask you to leave. But of course, I will give you compensation. Yen Jiutian wasn't scared of Yemo. He desired that jade slip too much. He knew that with his current power, if he got the jade slip, he would be able to instant kill great immortals. As his power grew, his power to fight beyond his level would be stronger. Even if he had to kill Yemo, it would be after he got the thing. He knew Yemo was no match for him, but he had to be careful. Hearing this, Yemo suddenly thought of something and instantly realized what was going on. He smirked. I believe there's more than one way here, right? Every route would have some good things on the way, but you don't have the time to go collect it all yourself, so you can only ask others to help you. Perhaps you did something on the map. Once you get what's here, you would go find them one by one. Yan Jiutian's face changed again. Emo immediately knew his guess was right. Yan Jiutian was willing to give up the other things in the other routes for the things here. Clearly it was something substantial. Otherwise, he wouldn't do this. He might not be able to collect back 100% of the things other people with the map got. You're very smart and the most powerful opponent I've encountered. In that case, let's not waste time talking. Before Yan Jiutian finished, the black mist rose up and turned to a thick black shadow smashing towards Emo. The black shadow was extremely fast and tore through the space like a black river tipping. Emo released World Rock and brought with it a huge immortal essence whirlpool. The black shadow in the whirlpool also charged at the black flow. After the black flow landed, it seemed overwhelming and dominant. Yemo's black world rock seemed minuscule in this grand flow. Yemo was shook and inserted his immortal essence into the world rock like crazy. Without his help, the world rock wasn't as powerful as the black flow. Rumble. The world rock and the black flow collided together. Immortal essence scattered everywhere, exploding on the sturdy floor. 10-meter deep ravines were created. The black ray and black mist splashed away onto the restriction on the altar. Yemo flew back and the world rock was smashed to the side again. This was smashed away in a head-on clash, not in an ambush. Yan Jiutian's immortal essence was on par with him, and his spirit sense was on par with him too. Yemo didn't know what the black mist flow was, but it seemed harder than his world rock. Yan Jiutian didn't get the upper hand too. The mist flows split apart as though about to dissipate. But when Yan Jiutian stabilized himself, the mist quickly gathered together and circulated around Yan Jiutian. Yan Jiutian grunted and suddenly lifted his hand. The black mist turned into multiple black arrows and flew towards Yemo. Suddenly a silver dragon appeared next to him. Yan Jiutian patted the dragon's back. Tear him apart. Shoo! Tens of black lines pressed towards Yemo while the silver dragon chased right after. Yemo knew that such weapon was divided from a magic artifact that could fight with the world rock. Even his immortal nirvana body can't take a hit head-on. Yan Jiutian's power was far beyond Yemo's expectations. The lines looked ordinary, but all the space around him was locked by the flying arrow. He had no other way but to take it head-on. Yemo released Octagonal Cauldron and smashed at the silver dragon with the world rock. Rumble. The black arrows shot on Octagonal Cauldron, creating huge explosive sounds. Yemo's sea of consciousness ached as he spat multiple mouthfuls of blood. There was a cracking sound. Yemo knew the Octagonal Cauldron cracked. Yemo knew the Octagonal Cauldron came from a very mysterious place, the Truth Fall Palace Forbidden Grounds, where the World Mountain was. He could only control 5 levels of restrictions inside and couldn't control any more. Yet such a magic artifact actually shattered under the black arrows. Thud. The world rock smashed with the silver dragon. Blood mist sprayed. The silver dragon stopped the world rock but was smashed to the side and instantly retreated back to Yan Jiutian. He looked at Yemo with a sliver of fear. Yemo quickly put the Octagonal Cauldron back in his ring and didn't even have time to eat pills. He released Sisu, which turned into a purple ray and smashed down at Yan Jiutian. Yan Jiutian was starting to attack the restriction now. Even though Yemo was heavily injured, how could he let this guy have what he wanted? Yan Jiutian saw Yemo was fine again and just spat a few mouthfuls of blood. He was even more shocked. The black arrows gathered into the mist again. Yan Jiutian's face looked bad. Never had he thought he would fight so arduously with an abstruse immortal middle stage. When the purple ray came, the mist turned into a spear and stopped the purple ray like a ghost. Purple ray splashed around, but the spear didn't move at all. Yan Jiutian didn't keep attacking Yemo, nor did Yemo keep attacking Yan Jiutian. Yemo had the lower hand in the battle and was a little injured. You're the strongest abstruse immortal middle stage I've seen, but it ends today. Pity you had a bright future ahead of you. Yan Jiutian held the black spear and didn't care about the heavily injured silver dragon. Silly attack. Then Yan Jiutian brought a flurry of spear shadows and smashed at Yemo. He knew he wouldn't be able to get what he wanted if he didn't kill Yemo. Yemo's side. Yemo was scared of this guy defending. He knew he was no match for Yemo, but he really didn't want to leave this place. I just want that jade slip. You can have the rest and I'll give you 5 million contribution points, Yan Jiutian said heavily. Yemo seemed like he didn't hear this. He suffered this much today, and this bastard wants him to compromise. Keep dreaming. Zissou sliced out again, illusion cloud domain kill strike. Purple sprayed all over the heavens. Feeling the space around him change, Yan Jiutian's face changed. He still had killing blows he didn't use, but he knew Yemo also had killing blows he didn't use. Yan Jiutian didn't hesitate at all now. The black mist circulating around him exploded and instantly formed a dark ray. The jade slip was important, but it wasn't as important as his life. When Zissou sliced across, the dark ray disappeared. So powerful! Yemo ate a few pills and felt very threatened by this Yan Jiutian. Although he won today, that was because Yan Jiutian couldn't completely use his space law and Yan Jiutian didn't know he had so many means. If the two met again, it wouldn't be so simple to gain the upper hand. Yan Jiutian was the most powerful same-level opponent he had encountered. That black mist was even a little more powerful than World Rock. If possible, Yemo would kill Yan Jiutian at all costs, but he knew he wouldn't be able to stop Yan Jiutian from going. Yemo sighed and smashed the World Rock on the restriction. After the restriction was broken, Yemo immediately charged on the stage. He took the Sky Mobility Gold and the Jade Slip while sweeping away the Aqua stage into his Golden Page world. As soon as he did this, the altar lit up. Yemo was immediately about to charge out, but he couldn't resist at all and was surrounded by the light and disappeared. Yemo calmed down once he was bound by the light. He knew this was probably a teleportation formation. He didn't know where it was to, but he couldn't tell it was a teleportation formation before at all. Yemo felt a little dizzy. He forcefully controlled his sea of consciousness, making himself stay conscious. Luckily this process wasn't long, and in just tens of seconds, Yemo fell to the ground. Yemo looked dazedly at what was before him. A huge, grand and ancient palace appeared before him. This gigantic force made Yemo even want to kneel down and pray to this palace. Yemo forcefully hacked out a few spirit sense blades in his sea of consciousness and barely controlled this urge to kneel down. He was shocked. What was this place? After a long while, Yemo came back to his senses and studied this palace. It wasn't big, but it was very tall. Even his spirit sense couldn't reach the top. There was a huge altar in front of the palace. There was a few candles burning on the side. These few candles gave him an extremely eerie feeling. What candle was this, burning after all these years? Yemo walked a step forward. Quang! A soul-shocking sound appeared in his sea of consciousness. Yemo subconsciously shivered. Was this footsteps sound? Yemo didn't keep going forward. He carefully scanned the 8 candles before reaching a golden statue. It was a very fat middle-aged man, but he seemed ethereal. Before Yemo moved his spirit sense away, that same sound appeared again. Those who vindicate my Tao, receives my heritage, serve me as master, kneel. Those who vindicate my Tao, receives my heritage, serve me as master, kneel. This sound repeated again and again as though striking the depth of one's soul. Yemo suddenly had this intense pious urge to kneel and worship, but the next moment, the 3-birth chant led immortal essence in cycles and shivered Yemo. Before he could do anything, Jinbingyu dashed out of the flying snow orb. Yemo caught her the instant she came out. Before she could kneel down, he knocked her out and sent her into the flying snow orb. Yemo closed his eyes and ran the 3-birth chant like crazy. That pestering sound slowly dissipated from his brain, but it was still in the palace. After a long while, Yemo opened his eyes. If it was someone else, he would have probably knelt down, even that Yan Jiutian. Sending him off was helping him. Yemo had always been cultivating under the bitter bamboo, and used the 3-birth chant born from the chaos. His mind was firm like a boulder. Even hard demon couldn't affect him. Although Yemo hadn't come into contact with Tao Vindication Masters, but he wasn't an idiot about Tao. The 3-birth chant thought that Tao people created itself. Those who achieve great Tao are born from all the things in the world. Tao gives birth to one, one becomes everything. This everything includes himself, but Yemo knew that no Tao could be vindicated from someone else. Tao vindication came from relying on one's own great wisdom, perseverance, and fortune. Yet the first thing this palace said was, "Those who vindicate my Tao." It was completely opposite to his understanding of Tao. Even though Yemo couldn't derive Tao, he didn't believe Tao could be vindicated from someone else, or use someone else's heritage to vindicate Tao. Even though Yemo couldn't derive Tao, he didn't believe Tao could be vindicated from someone else, or use someone else's heritage to vindicate Tao. There were millions of ways to Tao vindication, but not a single one was made by others and ready for you to use. Each Tao vindicator had his own path. Of course, the prerequisite for this was the ability to think and stop worship. Yemo had the ability to think and didn't lose his consciousness. Facing against this sound, the higher the power, the more enticing it would be. Realizing this, Yemo completely ignored that sound. After focusing his mind, Yemo set his gaze on the altar again. There were also a few jade slips on it, and in the center of the 8 candles, there was a subtle light flickering. Yemo felt the light seemed to be alive, or perhaps was the heritage light of that sound. Yemo calmed down. He gave up taking the jade slips. No matter how good the cultivation method, he didn't believe it would be as good as 3 birth chant. But then Yemo was shook. He realized he couldn't get out at all. Everything around him was empty. The only thing he could see was that 8 candles and the jade slip in the center, as well as that light. Yemo's spirit sense scanned to the top of the palace. It seemed high and low at the same time. Sometimes you could touch it, sometimes you didn't know how high it was. This entire palace seemed to be big and small variably. Seeing this, Yemo's heart sunk. He had a bad feeling. It seemed that after entering this palace, he had no choice but to accept the heritage. This was a very eerie palace. If it was someone else here, this palace would not only not be eerie, but the bright lantern leading him to Tao vindication. After a long while, Yemo took another step forward. The soul-shaking voice in his mind grew more intense. Yemo had a feeling that if he knelt down and crawled forward piously, he would be able to get to the altar quickly. Yemo closed his eyes and didn't keep going forward. He wanted to find a way out. After calming down again, Yemo took forward a big step, but soon he found that the sound was ever more penetrating. What shook Yemo more was that after he took this step, he found that he didn't seem to have moved at all. Space law, Yemo murmured to himself with a bad face. He appeared in a palace with space law. He was certain that there didn't seem to be another way out but to accept the heritage. At the same time, he realized why Yan Jiutian had such a map. He wasn't lying when he said his heritage left this. His heritage probably let him come here to receive Tao vindication heritage. Pity, he was sent running away before coming in here. Perhaps he really helped this Yan Jiutian. It must be a very powerful being to have left the heritage here, otherwise, no matter how talented Yan Jiutian was, he wouldn't be able to fight on par with him at abstruse immortal tertiary stage. Yemo knew there was no point in panicking. It would make him lose his wits and fall into that heritage eventually. Now the only other possibility of getting out was if he learned a sliver of space law too. In order to prevent Jin Bingyu from waking up and keep charging out, Yemo took out away the control rights of Flying Snow Orb and closed his eyes, starting to derive the space laws around him. Yemo relied on not his abstruse immortal middle stage power but the 3 birth chant. That Yan Jiutian could learn a sliver of space law, he didn't believe he couldn't. Yemo knew he couldn't take out the time formation disk. One was the risk of exposing it, second, time formation disk used time law. He wasn't sure if the two would conflict. Days passed by and the Mist Demon Palace had been open for 3 months now. All sorts of things happened inside, but no one knew that Yemo had stood there silently for a few months. Another month passed, and Yemo suddenly opened his eyes. He took a long breath. The palace was still the same, but he felt a little different. He realized that this palace only had fragmented space law. He didn't know what real space law was, but the derivation the 3 birth chant gave him was that only space law that could entwine with time law was true space law. Different space appeared in different time. When he realized one day how to connect different space and different time, he would completely understand space law. But now, just like Yen Jiutian, he only knew a sliver, but this sliver was enough for him. The next moment, Yemo suddenly took a few steps and then moved one step to the side. An extremely bright light shone down, and Yemo took a long breath. He knew the scene before him clearly. It was Pingpiao Plain. It only took him a few steps to leave that palace and come out into the plain, not the Mist Demon Palace. In just 4 months, Yemo could learn a sliver of space law and leave from that palace. Even he felt a sense of accomplishment. He knew he couldn't use space law into battle like Yen Jiutian yet, but it was only a matter of time. After Yemo removed the restriction of flying snow orb, he sent a news to Jin Bingyu and quickly left there. A day later, Yemo found a quiet place and took out that jade slip immediately. Yemo really wanted to know what it was for Yen Jiutian to desire it so much. When Yemo scanned his spirit sense in, he found it was an incomplete jade slip. It was heavily incomplete, but it kept at the depth of the Mist Demon Place under 2 sky mobility golds. The words on it was very obscure. Yemo took a long while to recognize it. Spirit will 9 transformations. Yemo's hands shook, almost dropping the jade slip. Spirit will was spirit sense? Spirit will 9 transformations was spirit sense 9 transformations? Did he get a spirit sense cultivation method? This was what he wanted since the cultivation realm but never got. Yemo's heart skipped rapidly. The extreme number of the heavens was 9. All those cultivation method called 9 were extreme grade cultivation method. Even if it wasn't the best in the world, it was extremely hard to get, just like his flying sword. Yemo knew the power of spirit sense cultivation method. He derived the lowest one from the 3-eyed purple frog, but it was too level. He couldn't even use spirit sense cultivation method to cultivate his spirit sense, only other treasures. To Yemo, spirit sense cultivation method would be the most helpful cultivation method to him other than 3-birth chant. If this spirit will 9 transformations was really a spirit sense cultivation method, then he would have a new beginning. It didn't matter it was incomplete. As long as he had some hint at the start, he would be able to use 3-birth chant to derive a new cultivation method. No wonder Yen Jiutian wanted this so bad. If Yen Jiutian really took it, how could he be a match for him the next time they meet? If Yen Jiutian had the other part to it, one could foresee that after he completely learned Spirit Will 9 transformations, he would be invincible. Yemo took a long breath and suppressed the excitement in his heart. He scanned his spirit sense inside. He knew now wasn't the time to study it, but it was too enticing. Spirit Will 9 transformations, Spirit Sense 1 transformation into blades, blades of thousands, sever enemies, sea of consciousness, dominate everywhere. Yemo just realized that his previous spirit sense cultivation method after working on it for so long was only the first transformation and was incomplete too. If it was the true first transformation, it should be much more powerful than this. Now Yemo had greater hopes for Spirit Will 9 transformations. He really wanted to know who would be more powerful, his newly derived Spirit Will 9 transformations or Yen Jiutian's space law. Before Yemo finished reading the first transformation, a huge explosion sounded. Yemo immediately put away the jade slip and scanned his spirit sense out. Before Yemo finished reading the first transformation, a huge explosion sounded. Yemo immediately put away the jade slip and scanned his spirit sense out. Yemo saw Brother Xian and his team. The explosion was 2 abstruse immortals fighting. It was Brother Xian fighting another abstruse immortal tertiary stage. That abstruse immortal tertiary stage also had 3 behind him. The 2 teams were clearly fighting for something. Seeing the situation, Brother Xian clearly had the upper hand. The other 6 didn't fight, clearly they were letting the result of this battle decide the outcome. Yemo could tell that one of the 3 on the Toher side was abstruse immortal middle stage. Brother Xian's team had higher overall power, but Brother Xian was still willing to fight one-on-one. He was indeed an open and upright person. Yemo wasn't interested in such battle at all. He knew that no matter how much he wanted to study the Spirit Will 9 transformations, Pingpiao Plains wasn't a good place. He had to find a quiet place and go into solitary cultivation. Yemo had decided to stay at the plain for a year. If he could reach top 50, he would go to the Lightning Immortal Well. If not, he would find a place for solitary cultivation and use the Duluo Heaven Fruit to reach Abstruse Immortal Peak stage, and then break through to Great Unity Immortal. The reason he doesn't break through to Great Unity Immortal now was because he knew if he reached Great Unity Immortal now, he wouldn't get a chance to reach top 50 at least in the short term. The top 50 of Heaven Immortal rank was 10 million points, but for Great Immortals, top 50 was 100 million. Just when Yemo was about to take back his spirit sense, he saw two more immortals fly over and landed near where the fight was. Yemo knew this person. It was that Great Unity Immortal who made him hand over the Duluo Heaven Fruit. Yemo wasn't planning to go over, but seeing this Great Unity Immortal, Yemo was immediately annoyed. This guy dared to mark him with Spirit Sense Mark and only left because the Mist Demon Palace was opening. If he didn't see this guy, then never mind, but now that he saw this guy, Yemo released Zisu and flew over without hesitation. The battle stopped as soon as the Great Unity Immortal came over. The two sides were originally against each other, but now they were all against this Great Unity Immortal. "There's a mud lotus, you guys are quite lucky." "Oh no, I mean I'm quite lucky." That Great Unity Immortal could see an extremely hidden mud lotus, but it was revealed now. The Great Unity Immortal said to Brother Xian and them, "Okay, you can all go now, I'll have this mud lotus now." "What for?" "We found this first, the fight is between us 8. You're going to be this domineering just because you're a little stronger?" The abstruse Immortal Middle Stage said unhappily. He thought that if all 8 of them attacked together they would still have a chance. He had seen 4 abstruse Immortal work together to kill a Great Unity Immortal. But now, there was 8 of them. "Because of my flying sword." The Great Unity Immortal raised his hand and a faint yellow beam flashed. It shot instantly at the abstruse Immortal Middle Stage's neck. The abstruse Immortal Middle Stage didn't seem to be weak and immediately tried to dodge, but then he felt the space around him slow, and he could only barely move his neck aside, but the flying sword sliced across his shoulder. Blood shot out. The abstruse Immortal Middle Stage's face was scarily pale. None of the people dared to say a thing. He didn't even dare to pick up his shoulder. This Great Unity Immortal was scary to this extent. He couldn't even resist. The Great Unity Immortal saw the abstruse Immortal Middle Stage avoided death and took back the flying sword before saying coldly, "Seeing as you dodged that, I won't take things seriously with an insect like you. I'm going to take the mud lotus now. Who disagrees?" "I disagree." To the surprise of the Great Unity Immortal, someone actually said something. But then he relayed the voice didn't come from the 8 people but from the side. How did he not notice this person at all? Just from this, he knew he was no match for this person. The rest of the people all saw a purple light land. "It's you?" The Great Unity Immortal clearly knew Yemo. Yemo left with another Great Unity Immortal, and he saw this clearly. He even heard the loud battle sounds of Yemo with the other Great Unity Immortal. Now that Yemo was here, one didn't even need to guess what happened to that Great Unity Immortal. He was already very concerned with Yemo at the entrance to the palace. Now that Yemo came over without any fear, he was concerned even more. "It's you?" Brother Xian and them recognized Yemo too. The other 4 didn't know Yemo, but when they saw it was an abstruse Immortal Middle Stage disagreeing, they were all shook. Was there someone who really didn't fear death for a mud lotus? "Brother Xian, long time no see." Yemo smiled and saluted with his fists to Brother Xian. Yes, long time no see." Brother Xian quickly saluted with his fists. Cough cough, so it's friend. The Great Unity Immortal's face looked really bad. He knew he was probably no match for Yemo, otherwise how did Yemo dare to be this cocky? Yemo sneered. "I don't remember when we're friends, but I'm a very credible person. Before I went into the palace, you made me hand up my immortal spirit herb. I remember that, now that I see you, I came quickly to give my immortal spirit herb. Friend, you're funny, ha ha ha." The Great Unity Immortal's face was bad. He knew Yemo was cruel and vengeful. There were 2,000 people at the entrance, and great extreme immortal there, but he dared to kill an abstruse immortal tertiary stage who offended him. It seemed a battle was unavoidable. Brother Cien and them saw the great unity immortal act like this and was confused. The other four were completely dazed. An abstruse immortal middle stage was clearly threatening a great unity immortal, and this great unity immortal didn't dare to retaliate. The abstruse immortal middle stage quickly picked up his shoulder and added a few pills. Seeing Emo just sneer, the great unity immortal's heart was cold. If Emo could kill another great unity immortal, he could kill him. Plus, he didn't feel it was worth fighting someone like Emo for a mud lotus. He was great unity immortal. Mud lotus could at most be used to make great unity pills. It wasn't much use to him. Since friend disagrees, I won't have this mud lotus. Goodbye. The great unity immortal saluted with his fists and was about to go. Emo laughed. Is the mud lotus yours? You seem to have come after. What do you want? The great unity immortal frowned. He was ready to release his magic artifact. They might have to fight. He added, I have no enmity with you. Why do you have to start trouble with me? Hee, did you not mark me? I have a lot of good things, but I hate people scheming for it. Emo laughed, and his force rose drastically. The great unity immortal's face was green and he suddenly roared. If you want to fight, then fight. Don't think I, Zheng Bingqiao, is scared of you. Emo's power burst up, but he didn't have to fight this Zheng Bingqiao. He definitely wasn't scared of him, but he had too many secrets. He would prefer not exposing them. Emo's power burst up, but he didn't have to fight this Zheng Bingqiao. He definitely wasn't scared of him, but he had too many secrets. He would prefer not exposing them. The main reason he came here was to ask for benefits. If Zheng Bingqiao planned to give nothing, then don't blame him. He wanted to rob him first, so now he was here to get back at him. We can fight, of course, but if I fight, I might not be able to stop myself. That's so. Fei wants my things at the Mist Demon Palace entrance. I didn't stop myself in time and caused some regrets. As soon as Emo said this, Zheng Bingqiao's heart went cold. From what Emo said, that great unity immortal really was killed by him. What do you want? Zheng Bingqiao's tone softened again. If possible, he really didn't want to fight with Emo. He was dominant but also careful. Even if he was going to rob, he would rob people who were far weaker than him. If there was someone who could threaten him, he wouldn't act tough. This was why he could reach great unity immortal. He was cruel but clear-minded. Emo nodded. You marked me with spirit sense mark for no reason, making me worry more. I don't have any other hobbies, but I like to collect some contribution points. Zheng Bingqiao cursed, worry my asshole. Who doesn't like contribution points? How much contribution points do you want? Zheng Bingqiao asked. Emo really wanted to ask how much do you have, but he knew if he asked this they would end up fighting. That's so. Fei had 1 million or so this Zheng Bingqiao shouldn't have lower than 1 million. He'll just take half. Emo said. 500k. What? Zheng Bingqiao dazed. He only had 700k altogether. Even though he knew he was no match for Emo, he would still fight. If he couldn't beat Emo, he would run, but what if he couldn't run? Zheng Bingqiao was a little hesitant. The abstruse immortals around dazed. Emo was too cruel, asking for 500k contribution points straight up. It was hard even for Great Unity Immortal to take out 500k contribution points. I only have 700k contribution points. If you're willing, I can give you 300k. If you don't agree to that, then we'll have to fight. The Great Unity Immortal couldn't take it after being oppressed like this. Emo frowned. He wasn't afraid of fighting Zheng Bingqiao, but his main purpose was contribution points. Zheng Bingqiao didn't seem to be lying. Thinking about this, Emo took out Sui Fei's Aqua contribution card. Can you swipe out some of the contribution points in here? If you can, I can ask less of you. Seeing this, Zheng Bingqiao's heart went cold again. His last sliver of hope was gone. This Aqua Jade card was definitely Great Unity Immortal. Perhaps the Great Unity Immortal who chased Emo before. Without a doubt, he was killed if his Jade card was in Emo's hands. Immortal friend EMO, I can't open this spirit sense mark, but I have a way to sell out 30% of the contribution points inside. Jin Bingchao's tone grew even weaker. The courage he just summoned up was gone. Hearing this, he gave a few jade cards all to Jin Bingchao and said, I'll give you all the jade cards here, give me your contribution points. Jin Bingchao took the jade cards and found there was even one with 2 million contribution points. He was shocked. If he exchanged all these jade cards, he could get nearly 100 million contribution points. He would be earning. Even if he wasn't earning, he wouldn't want to fight with EMO anymore. Sure. Jin Bingchao took out his jade card and removed the spirit sense mark and gave it to EMO. EMO took the card and found there was indeed only 700k points. He swiped it all to his card without hesitation. Taking the jade card, EMO threw back. Jin Bingchao didn't even look and quickly saluted with his fists. Goodbye. The abstruse immortals here looked dazedly at this deal. The main thing was that EMO used a yellow jade card. This was the lowest grade. Even a golden immortal rarely used that. Seeing Jin Bingchao and the other abstruse immortal tertiary stage disappear, Brother Xian came up to EMO. Brother Emo, thanks for helping, you deserve this mud lotus. EMO had too many of them, he didn't care about one. EMO quickly waved his hand. No need, I'm not interested in that thing. Although EMO didn't fight at all, people from both sides saw EMO's power. The other team quickly saluted with his fists. We won't take this mud lotus. Brother Xian was a rather righteous person and said, We'll give you some contribution points then. Hearing this, EMO thought and asked, Brother Xian, how much contribution points is needed for a great unity immortal ill? Good quality ones usually cost 1 million contribution points. Some abstruse immortal wouldn't be able to save up this many points after countless years. Brother Xian answered. EMO thought, he had so many great unity immortal pills, if he sold them all wouldn't he immediately be rich? But then he immediately gave up the thought. Great unity immortal pills were the top resource of big sections. If so many great unity immortal pills suddenly appeared, people would definitely investigate. He was only a mere abstruse immortal middle stage, not enough to fight against even a finger of great eternity immortal. Brother Xian, I also want to ask, where there is more level 4 demonic immortal spirit beast? EMO said. Brother Xian quickly took out a jade slip and said, The blue area in this jade slip are where the level 4 and level 5 demonic immortal spirit beasts are at. You must not go to the red areas. Why not? EMO asked. Because it's where they gather in masses. If you go in, there's no chance for survival. Brother Xian quickly said. EMO realized, when he got the Duluo heaven fruit, he encountered countless demonic immortal spirit beasts. It must be because those immortals went to the red area and were chased. But this also meant that there would be good treasures there. In that case, goodbye. EMO was going to leave. Brother Emo, wait! That red-robed female immortal stopped EMO. EMO immediately knew what she wanted to say, so he said, My friend is very safe, thanks for your concern. Then EMO took out Zisu and disappeared. He's probably a great unity immortal Qianbei, right? The abstruse immortal tertiary stage fighting Brother Xian asked. I don't know, but I saw him kill an abstruse immortal same power as me in one move. Brother Xian shook his head. He's that powerful? The other 4 abstruse immortal finally realized what that great unity immortal would take out his contribution points and leave. EMO wasn't interested in the blue areas. Level 4 and level 5 demonic immortal spirit beasts weren't easy to deal with. To him, the best was level 3, the more the better. He went to the red-marked area. EMO stood before a red forest and scanned his spirit sense in. This was the red-marked place on the jade slip. There was 3 red circles around this place showing just how many demonic immortal spirit beasts there were. EMO stood before a red forest and scanned his spirit sense in. This was the red-marked place on the jade slip. There was 3 red circles around this place showing just how many demonic immortal spirit beasts there were. The reason EMO came here was because this was the closest. Checking out the surroundings, EMO went in the forest without hesitation. He was ready to leave if he saw that he couldn't take on this place. There were only some level 2 demonic immortal spirit beasts at the outside, but the deeper Emo went, there were more. After 15 minutes, Emo stopped. This was far from the depth of the forest. It was still the outskirts, but there were dense clusters of demonic immortal spirit beasts. Just how many would there be in the depth? Luckily, these were all level 2 and level 3. There weren't level 4. If they were all level 4, Emo would leave without hesitation. There were more than 10,000 around him now. In just a few seconds, Emo was completely surrounded. Countless demonic blades, chains flooded him. After ensuring there was not a single level 4 demonic immortal spirit beast, Emo immediately released Heaven Flame 9 suns. 2 purple suns were released, and the dense clusters of demonic immortal spirit beasts crippled under them. But soon, more demonic immortal spirit beasts replaced the annihilated ones. They charged at Emo tirelessly. Emo breathed easy. 2 suns were much less taxing on his spirit sense than 4. There weren't level 4 demonic immortal spirit beasts, so 2 suns were perfect. As more and more demonic immortal spirit beasts came, the piles of beast cores around Emo stacked higher. Emo couldn't even collect them now. Even though 2 suns were less taxing on spirit sense, he still couldn't take it. Jinbingyu saw in the flying snow orb that Emo used all his efforts to take on the demonic immortal spirit beast, so she quickly flew out and helped Emo collect those beast cores. Otherwise, in time, those level 2 beast cores would melt. Seeing Jinbingyu come help, Emo breathed easy a little. He ate 2 dual spirit pills. He knew that he couldn't continue like this even if there wasn't level 4 demonic immortal spirit beast coming. He signaled Jinbingyu to focus on collecting beast cores and threw his contribution point jade card to Jinbingyu. Then, he used Spirit Will 9 transformations. The main use of Heaven Flame 9 suns was on spirit sense. If Spirit Will 9 transformations could allow him to maintain his spirit sense or exert very little, perhaps he would really be able to collect the contribution points he needed here. Spirit Will 1 transformation to Blades. 2nd transformation Shatter Spirit and Break Sea, 3rd transformation Domain Birth, 4th transformation Magic Fuse, 5th transformation Realm Form, 6th transformation Nirvana, 7th transformation Void, 8th transformation Samsara, 9th transformation Become One. At the 2nd transformation of Spirit Sense, it could sever the spirit sense other people extend out. At the extreme, one could even shatter someone's sea of consciousness. The 3rd transformation was when Domain was formed. One could form his own spirit sense domain. At the 4th transformation, one could fuse his most powerful magic into the spirit sense. It wouldn't be simply spirit sense blades anymore. Any of his fire element or ice element could be instantly activated with spirit sense. It could be said that at the 4th transformation, one could kill Immortal King as Great Immortal. But this Spirit Will 9 transformations was fragmented. There was only the cultivation method for the first 4 transformations. But to Emo, it didn't matter. He could use his 3 birth chant to slowly derive the cultivation method. Emo now realized that the things he derived before were similar but not really. His spirit sense domain didn't have that much power, nor a clear level. Although he had 3 birth chant, but he didn't have anyone to teach him nor any hints. Any of these cultivation methods were formed after the experience of countless years and countless powerful beings. His 3 birth chant was formed in the chaos after countless years. As for the 5th transformation forming one sea of consciousness world, Emo believed the corner soul domain in the chaos star realm was probably the sea of consciousness world of Wushuang Immortal Emperor. From this, it was clear that Mu Wushuang not only had spirit sense cultivation method but reached at least the 5th transformation. Emo slowly sunk into the Spirit Will 9 transformations. Even though his purple eye soul sever wasn't completely right, it wasn't completely wrong. At least his first transformation was completely correct. So he didn't need to cultivate the spirit sense turning into blades. He just skipped to the 2nd transformation Spirit Shatter. It wasn't hard, but in order to reach a high level, one needed tens of thousands of years. The first step to level 2 was to sever other people's spirit sense. This was very important in battle. When Emo was deriving the purple eye soul sever, it could also sever people's spirit sense, but its power was too weak. Instead of severing, it was more like interference. This was only effective against people with weaker spirit sense than him. If someone had the same spirit sense as him, he wouldn't even dare to use it, as he would be backlashed. This spirit will 9 transformations was completely different. If a cultivation method was only effective against people weaker than you, it would be meaningless. Purple Eye Soul Sever was a cultivation method that was pointless. The reason he could use it against people was because his spirit sense was too powerful. The Spirit Will 9 transformations also provided a direction for spirit sense cultivation. If there was enough time, Yemo would just look at this cultivation method and start deriving his own Spirit Will 9 transformations, but now he didn't have the time to, so he could only cultivate according to it. The demonic immortal spirit beast kept charging at Yemo, and Yemo's 2 sons didn't weaken at all. He protected him and Jinbingyu inside. The demonic immortal spirit beast kept dropping beast cores and Jinbingyu kept collecting them. Meanwhile, Yemo went into a state for self-forget. Yemo used the Spirit Will 9 transformations way of refining his spirit sense. Jinbingyu knew Yemo's son was powerful, but it couldn't last long. However, now she found that days had gone by and the 2 sons still hung in the air. Yemo didn't even realize that at the beginning he still used pills for cultivation, but later on he didn't even use that too. When there were more demonic immortal spirit beasts, the sons would grow larger. When there were less demonic immortal spirit beasts, the sons could grow smaller. At the start, Jinbingyu was amazed at Yemo's spirit sense, but after a month or so, Jinbingyu felt something as wrong. Yemo seemed to have lost his senses. He just numbly slaughtered demonic immortal spirit beasts and was expressionless. What worried her even more was that Yemo's skin started to get red and cold, but yet he was using a heaven flame. "Martial Brother Yi, are you alright?" Jinbingyu called. There was some motion in Yemo's eyes, but he still didn't move. Now, Jinbingyu realized Yemo was in trouble. She gathered all her spirit sense power and yelled, "Yemo!" Yemo's body shook and spat many mouthful of blood, of purple blood. His face was pale like snow. "Bastard!" Yemo woke up and immediately put away Heaven Flame 9 sons. Then he said, "Let's go." Jinbingyu flew into the flying snow orb without hesitation. Zissou splashed out a purple view, clearing the demonic immortal spirit beast ahead, then in a faint dashing light Yemo disappeared. Yemo flew just for half an hour after leaving the red forest and stopped. He spotted another mouthful of blood and used earth mobility. "What happened?" Jinbingyu immediately asked worriedly. "I was ambushed by that bastard. Thanks for saving me. I need to recover, don't talk to me." Yemo came to where he cultivated before and set up a stealth formation before going into the Golden Page world. There were other ways around this, but there was only so much the Immortal City could do. Those who could cheat would have large sums of immortal crystals and might not even be interested in ordinary immortal wells. Ji Zhenghong nodded. "Yes, but it's still better to be careful." The female immortal laughed. "Brother Zhenghong is too careful. You have 9.46 million now. The 51st is at 8.08 million. Even a great eternity immortal wouldn't be able to kill 1 million worth of beast cores in a month, right? I feel like Brother Zhenghong is right. There are beast cores for sale in the city. If people buy it, there's still danger, but then again, even if someone buys them and beats Brother Zhenghong temporarily, it would be pointless. Brother Zhenghong is a master who almost reached the abstruse ranks. He only needs to go kill a few demonic immortal spirit beasts and it would be enough," another dark-skinned abstruse immortal said. The female immortal shook her head. "Yes, but there isn't enough time to kill demonic immortal spirit beasts now. It has nothing to do with ability." The long-bearded abstruse immortal smiled. "Those who have the ability to buy beast cores would have already done so already. The price of beast cores now are many times more than usual. No one would use that many immortal crystals to buy beast cores." Suddenly, Ji Zhenghong's face changed. "Brother Zhenghong, what happened?" "The leaderboard is changing. Look, that Amoing guy," the dark-skinned abstruse immortal called out. The female immortal also stared at the leaderboard in shock. An immortal called Mo Ying's contribution points keep rising. It went up from 4 million to 6 million. It still hadn't stopped. At the rate, it would only be a matter of time before it broke through 10 million. If that happened, Ji Xinghong would be squeezed below top 50. What happened? Ji Xinghong's face looked bad. Everyone stared at the leaderboard nervously. In just a short while, Mo Ying's contribution points were 9 million or so. In just half a minute, Mo Ying would become the 50th off Heaven Immortal leaderboard. Interesting. An abstruse immortal peak stage saw the rising Mo Ying too. That guy is cheating, right? He bought this many beast cores. One extremely beautiful woman next to him asked. The abstruse immortal peak stage was dressed in blue robes and looked very handsome. A long sword hung in the air behind his back. Cheating, even if he is cheating, he's not simply to be able to get so many beast cores at this time. The abstruse immortal laughed. Martial Brother Su, if he continues like this, would he reach first and be even above you? The beautiful female immortal asked worriedly. Su Ji smiled in contempt. So what if he's first? Using such means, he's no match for me. The female immortal nodded and smiled sweetly. Of course, Martial Brother is top 10 in the abstruse rank of Zone Piao Heaven. If it wasn't for the blue lightning well, Martial Brother would have already reached Great Unity Immortal. However, Su Ji looked regretful. Only those with weaker foundations would fight over this. Those with more wealth wouldn't even want to come. Martial Brother, don't worry. Once you reach Great Unity Immortal in the well, you can go to a wider world. I believe with Martial Brother's power, you definitely won't stop at the Middle Heaven domain. One day, you will be able to cross the void and charge into the Grand 11 Heaven domains. That extremely beautiful woman said with confidence. There was certainty in Su Ji's eyes. He nodded to that female immortal. Thank you, Martial Sister Yen Er. Top 10 of abstruse rank in Zone Piao Heaven is nothing. Only once you enter a greater world would you be able to find what you want. There was a sliver of sadness in the female immortal's eyes, but she immediately said happily, Martial Brother, you can do it. Ji Xinghong looked at Mo Ying surpass him without stopping at all and clenched his fists tightly. He saved up for a few centuries and now at the last moment, his opportunity was taken. He's still rising. The female immortal stared at 43rd ranked Mo Ying and said in shock. The long-bearded abstruse immortal frowned. Where did this guy come from? To buy this much beast cores at this time, how much immortal crystals would be needed? I want to see which god this Mo Ying is. Ji Xinghong's face was green and his jade cup was crushed. Jin Bingyu didn't know her actions would make people so angry. Ye Mo had been in solitary cultivation for a few months. She just now remembered to send the beast cores into Ye Mo's card. In the Golden Page world, Ye Mo slowly opened his eyes and stopped the time formation disk. In the Golden Page world, Ye Mo slowly opened his eyes and stopped the time formation disk. He had cultivated an entire 40 decades in the time formation disk before recovering. Compared to before, Ye Mo was much darker and skinnier. If Jin Bingyu didn't wake him up before, he would probably burn himself out eventually. That cultivation method was too ferocious. When he started cultivating it, he only had the primordial instinct to keep cultivating and using Heaven Flame 9 Suns. Ye Mo knew that the reason he could last a month was because the 3 birth chant kept nourishing him and supplying him with life force. Otherwise, in a few days he would completely turn into a layer of dried skin. Ye Mo took out the jade slip of Spirit Will 9 transformations and burned it to pieces immediately. He knew that the problem wasn't with the Spirit Will 9 transformations, but there was a sliver of Tao Will in the jade slip. It was even hidden in every word. When he looked at the jade slip and wanted to cultivate it, the sliver of Tao Will formed a bridge with his consciousness. The Tao Will then planted itself in his will and grew. The Tao Will wasn't intended to kill the cultivator but turn the cultivator into a puppet. If someone's spirit sense grew to a certain extent cultivating from the jade slip, the Tao Will would be able to affect the cultivator. However, the person behind this didn't expect someone would be able to cultivate and battle at the same time. The three-birth chant allowed Yemo to release Heaven Flame 9 suns while cultivating Spirit Will 9 transformations. The growing spirit sense couldn't last the use of Heaven Flame 9 suns and thus couldn't control Yemo's soul and will. It could only give Yemo the message to keep cultivating to survive. Even so, Yemo used a few decades to completely burn away that Tao will and recover his lost essence under the bitter bamboo. The Spirit Will 9 transformations was an extremely high-level spirit sense cultivation method. Yemo was certain the cultivation method was right, but the problem was with the person who left it. Yemo definitely needed to cultivate the Spirit Will 9 transformations, but he wasn't going to use this cultivation method. He would derive his own Spirit Will 9 transformations. As for the person who left the jade slip behind, without a doubt it was the person who left behind the voice in the palace. That guy was definitely a powerful being. He not only had a terrifying cultivation method like the Spirit Will 9 transformations, but could also form a palace with space law. Originally, what that guy left behind had nothing to do with him, but this Spirit Will 9 transformations jade slip annoyed him. If it wasn't for Jin Bingyu, even if he woke up he would die to demonic immortal spirit beast. How could he not get revenge for this? Even if he couldn't get it now, he would eventually get it. Yemo sealed the sky mobility gold and the blue platform in the golden page world. They came with the jade slip. No matter if there was something wrong with them or not, he had to be careful. He didn't have time to look at them now. You're fine now. Jin Bingyu got up in joy. She had been really worried about Yemo. Yemo seemed skinnier and darker, but he should be fine. Yemo nodded. Thank you a lot this time. If it wasn't for you I would be dead. You saved me countless times, this is nothing. But who is that bastard you said? Jin Bingyu asked. If I'm not wrong, it's the guy who wanted us to kneel in the palace and accept his heritage, Yemo said. Hearing this, Jin Bingyu's face flashed with horror. If it wasn't for Yemo she would have knelt down and accepted the heritage. What are you doing? Yemo saw the jade card in Jin Bingyu's hand. Jin Bingyu got up and waved it, saying, Before I didn't have time to put the beast cores in the jade card, I could only throw them in the storage ring. I'm sending the beast cores in now to increase contribution points. How many contribution points? Yemo asked and then remembered why he even came here. How long till the opening of the Immortal Well? 11 million points now, there's still a month before the place opens. I was thinking if you still didn't come out we wouldn't have time, Jin Bingyu said. Yemo nodded. Okay, let's go back immediately. 11 million should be enough. Don't insert any more inside, we don't want attention. By the way, how many contribution points are left in the storage ring? Jin Bingyu gave the jade card to Yemo and said, There's about 6 million, I'll give the storage ring to you. I have 100k in my card. Yemo waved his hand. No need, keep it in the storage ring. If we don't have enough we'll add more. Although he was ambushed this time, he didn't lose completely. He got 10 million contribution points from killing demonic immortal spirit beasts with Heaven Flame 9 suns for a month. From this, it was clear that the demonic immortal spirit beasts there were countless. It was only a matter of time before they overtook Zhong Piao Heaven. On top of that, Yemo's spirit sense rose drastically. After he burned the Tao Will, his spirit sense was almost on par with Great Extreme Immortal Tertiary Stage. Half a month later, a man and woman came to the Gulan City teleportation formation. It was Yemo and Jin Bingyu. After the two came out, they immediately got on Blue Moon and bolted out of the Pingpiao Plains. There were some demonic immortal spirit beasts stopping them on the way, but it didn't affect them much. They immediately went on teleportation formation from the Pingpiao town to this Gulan City, and then took the teleportation formation from there to Qing Emo Immortal City. The teleportation formation was very busy, and they had to line up. It had been 6 hours and it still wasn't their turn. Just when it was about to be Yemo's turn, a harsh voice sounded. Let me go on first, I have an emergency. A red figure landed on the teleportation formation and moments later another green figure landed next to her. There were many people lining up, but these two female immortals suddenly cut in line. People were immediately unhappy, but no one said anything. The green-robed female immortal was at least Great Extreme Immortal. Everyone lining up was mostly below Great Unity Immortal. Seeing this green-robed female immortal, Yemo's eyes narrowed and quickly slowed his immortal essence. To others, she may seem like a Great Extreme Immortal, but Yemo immediately knew she was an Immortal King. The Immortal King scanned across the immortals lining up and saw Yemo and Jinbingyu. When she scanned Jinbingyu, there was a sliver of surprise in her eyes, but soon she looked at Yemo. The Immortal King scanned across the immortals lining up and saw Yemo and Jinbingyu. When she scanned Jinbingyu, there was a sliver of surprise in her eyes, but soon she looked at Yemo. "You seem very nervous?" The green-robed Immortal King's voice sounded by Yemo's ear. Hearing this, Yemo calmed down instead. He was certain now that even if the Immortal King scanned him with spirit sense, as long as the Immortal King didn't pressure him with spirit sense, he didn't need to worry about the Golden Page world being exposed. Yemo didn't know why the Immortal King said this to him, but luckily she didn't keep focusing on Yemo as the teleportation formation had activated. "This person is probably a Great Eternity Immortal," some people discussed. Great Eternity Immortal? Are you dumb? She's one of the 10 big Immortal Kings of Zone Piao Heaven, Su Huan Immortal King. Luckily you didn't say much just then. She hates people gossiping. If you dared to speak, she would have shattered your brain. What? She's Su Huan Immortal King? Of course, she's going to the Qing Mo Immortal City now desperately, probably for the opening of the Blue Lightning Immortal Well. Yemo was just listening on the side. He didn't expect her to be one of the 10 big Immortal Kings of Zone Piao Heaven. An hour later, Yemo and Jinbingyu were on the streets of Qing Mo Immortal City. It was much more prosperous than Gulan Immortal City. "Where do we go?" Jinbingyu looked at the boisterous streets and frowned. Yemo knew what she meant. Jinbingyu didn't like to squeeze around where there were a lot of people. She liked quiet places. "It's impossible to find a hotel or immortal rest tower. But we have another option. We can go rent a cultivation home from the Immortal City." Yemo smiled. This was the best choice. He was going to Blue Lightning Immortal Well, but Jinbingyu couldn't go. Even if she went, it was useless. The city management was rather strict. Even if you offended high-level immortals, you would be fine as long as you didn't go outside of city, much less city-managed cultivation homes. Safety was guaranteed. The biggest auction that takes place every century in the city is about to begin. Jade slips for the auction items, just 1 contribution point, and you can get one. A few hollow immortal yelled on the streets. "Give me one." Yemo took out his jade card and bought a jade slip from the hollow immortal. He didn't want to go to the auction, but he wanted to see what was in these large-scale auctions. One would need large sums of immortal crystals or contribution points to go. He only had a few million immortal crystals and not many contribution points. After scanning it, Yemo sighed. No wonder it was the biggest auction of the century. There was everything here: high-level immortal spirit herbs, materials, top-grade flying immortal artifacts, high-level cultivation methods. No wonder so many people came to the city. It wasn't just for the Immortal Well but also for this auction. This auction even had level 7 immortal spirit herbs and extreme-grade immortal artifacts. The cultivation homes of the city were on the north side. There were no shops here but all sorts of spirit gathering and defense formations. Irrelevant people couldn't even get near. This was the city's main source of income. Yemo and Jinbingyu were stopped by a golden immortal. "Halt! This is Immortal Cultivation Home Area." Yemo saluted with his fists. "I know, we came to rent a cultivation home," the golden immortal said apologetically. "The cultivation homes here have all been rented out, sorry." This made Yemo frown. If they didn't have a place to stay, they couldn't sleep on the streets. If it was outside, he could set up his own cultivation home, but in here, it was impossible. Yemo took out 1,000 immortal crystals to the golden immortal. "Friend, can you help?" The golden immortal pushed the immortal crystals away reluctantly. "It's not that I don't want to help, but the cultivation homes here have all been rented out. If there were free ones, I wouldn't stop you on purpose, and I don't dare to." Emo still pushed the 1,000 immortal crystals to the golden immortal. Help me keep a lookout. If there's a free cultivation home, rent it for me first. The golden immortal knew that even if a cultivation home freed up, it wouldn't be his turn to make the decision, but these 1,000 immortal crystals were free. You want to rent cultivation home? A crisp voice sounded. A blue-dressed female immortal appeared next to Emo and Jinbingyu. Yes, Qianbei. This female immortal was a great unity immortal. Emo quickly bowed. The blue-robed female immortal looked at Jinbingyu and said, Such a pretty immortal, I'll help you once. I'm going to leave the city and my rent period is up, you guys can have it. Thank you, Qianbei. Jinbingyu reacted quickly and bowed. No need. Let's go, I'll help you do the procedures. Otherwise, as soon as I leave it would be rented away. It's useless to ask this small golden immortal. The immortal waved her hand. There was an awkward look on the golden immortal's face, but he used the opportunity to explain the rules to Emo. There were 4 types of cultivation home: top, middle, low, and special. The female immortal rented a top-grade home. It was 500k immortal crystals a year. This was high-priced even for great immortals. It would be much cheaper to pay with contribution points, however. Emo had some immortal crystals, so he rented for 10 years. As for contribution points, he didn't use them. Seeing Emo just take out millions and renting for a decade, she looked at Emo with some surprise. After the blue-robed female immortal moved away, Emo and Jinbingyu came to the cultivation home. They were very happy with this place. This cultivation home was large and had a garden. There were cultivation rooms, bedrooms, pet rooms, side rooms. There was also a guest greeting room. There were low-level immortal spirit herbs planted outside and a pond. The level 3 immortal spirit gathering formation made the immortal spirit chi here very dense. The defense formation was level 4 immortal formation. This 5 million is very worth. Emo nodded. Yes, I really like it here too. That Qianbei was right. If we weren't lucky we wouldn't be able to rent this place. Jinbingyu agreed. It's a pity in such a good environment I can't even cultivate. Jinbingyu sighed. The immortal spirit chi here was much better than even extreme sword sect. Emo didn't know how to comfort her. After being with her for so long, it was impossible that he didn't care about her at all. Don't worry, I'm just exclaiming. The cultivation method you gave it very good. I can feel a sliver of immortal essence now. Jinbingyu immediately knew what Emo thought and quickly added. Emo shook his head. He knew that if her spirit roots couldn't recover, she couldn't cultivate. That way, he couldn't leave her behind. You stay at the main cultivation room, I'll go to the side room. Jinbingyu said, feeling what she said before was inappropriate. No, you use the main cultivation room. This cultivation home isn't rented for us too, Emo said. Jinbingyu was dazed and asked, Then where are you going? Emo wasn't going to go somewhere, at least not very far, before the opening of the immortal well. He just wanted to tell Jinbingyu that he was going to the marketplace, but he really just wanted to go see if there are any news of recovering spirit roots there. It was slim but better than doing nothing. Emo wasn't going to go somewhere, at least not very far, before the opening of the immortal well. He just wanted to tell Jinbingyu that he was going to the marketplace, but he really just wanted to go see if there are any news of recovering spirit roots there. It was slim but better than doing nothing. He set up another trap and attack formation at the cultivation home before going onto the streets again. In the city square, Emo looked at his ranking. 11 million contribution points, ranked 41st on the Heaven Immortal leaderboard. The first on the leaderboard was 16 million. It wasn't Su Ji but Chu Xiangzi. Emo didn't care who was first. He felt very safe with his rank. He believed that no matter how he dropped, he wouldn't go below top 50 in this half-month. Emo still had a few million more beast cores. Altogether, he would have nearly 16 million, but Emo didn't dare to use it. If he used too much and couldn't stay in top 50, then it would be bad. Emo walked around in the marketplace and the merchant towers but didn't buy anything. He just wanted to see if there was news of Clear Mind's spirit, or any immortal spirit herb that could repair spirit root. However, he was unlucky. He had been to a few marketplaces and tens of merchant towers, but every time he asked about spirit root recovery pill and immortal spirit herbs, people looked at him like he was an idiot. Even if there was such a pill, would an abstruse immortal be able to afford it? Luckily, he didn't ask for clear mind lotus, or people would take him for a madman. After one day, Emo was not only tired but also disappointed. When Emo walked out another merchant tower, he was stopped by an abstruse immortal primary stage. "Immortal friend, please hold up." Emo turned back and looked at him in confusion. "You have some business with me?" The abstruse immortal primary stage. "That's right, I heard you were searching everywhere for spirit root recovery immortal spirit herb and pills. You have it?" Emo subconsciously asked, but then immediately became wary. "I don't," the abstruse immortal said. Emo frowned but said nothing. The abstruse immortal primary stage continued. "I don't have this immortal pill, but I have the news of a level 6 immortal spirit herb spirit red lotus." Then he looked at Emo's expression, wanting to see what Emo thought. Emo knew spirit red lotus, of course. It was a level 6 immortal spirit herb. It could be used to concoct the clear disaster pill to purify spirit root and stabilize essence spirit. It would also increase chances of reaching great immortal. The spirit red lotus was good, but it was a far cry compared to clear mind lotus. It was not very useful to Jinbingyu. "This thing has no use for me. It's just an immortal spirit herb for concocting clear disaster pills. I don't need it." Emo waved his hand. "Don't be in a rush to reject. It's useless to you, but it's useful to Immortal Forest Tower. What has this got to do with me?" "Of course it does. Immortal Forest Tower has a level 7 Immortal Pill Spirit Recovery Golden Pill. It's said that it has some use for recovering spirit roots. The Immortal Forest Tower made a restriction. That is, if you want to buy the pill, you must have Spirit Red Lotus." "Spirit Recovery Golden Pill?" I asked a few pill towers how come none of them knows anything about spirit root recovery pills. "It's very simple, because they think you can't afford it." Emo frowned. He was an immortal pill great master, but he had never heard of some spirit recovery golden pill. "If you don't want it, I'm going." The abstruse immortal saw Emo frown, so he laughed. "How many immortal crystals?" Emo asked. 10,000 contribution points," the abstruse immortal said. "Too expensive." Emo turned to leave. He felt this guy was unreliable. He was going to confirm at the pill tower if there was the spirit recovery golden pill. Seeing this, the abstruse immortal added, "Lowest 5,000 contribution points. If not them, I'm going." He was about to leave. Emo saw this and stopped him. "Tell me the news and I'll give you 500 contribution points." Regardless if this guy was a liar, Emo didn't care about 500 contribution points. It would be bad to miss it, but if this guy didn't agree, then never mind. Deal. Unexpectedly, this abstruse immortal primary stage took out a tattered jade slip to Emo without hesitation. Emo felt he was tricked, but since he agreed, he couldn't regret. He could only swipe 500 contribution points to this abstruse immortal primary stage. Seeing that Emo's jade card was yellow, he smiled. He was very satisfied. How many immortal crystals could a yellow jade card immortal have? To be able to trick 500 contribution points from him was all his skill. The abstruse immortal primary stage immediately disappeared after getting the contribution points. "Friend, you got scammed. Wang Lu is the biggest scammer here," a good-hearted abstruse immortal tertiary stage said. "Thank you." Emo heard this and knew he might have really been scammed, but this jade slip seemed a little broken. It didn't seem to be newly made to trick people. Emo's spirit sense scanned inside. He immediately saw an immortal spirit herb. The image was very obfuscated, and so were the writing. The location was very obscure too, Kongji Ranges. That was around 100,000 kilometers from here, not too far. But the range was big. How could he know where the spirit red lotus was? The image was so obscure that Wang Lu outlined it before it could be seen clearly. He didn't look at the outline, He wanted to forcefully see if this was Spirit Red Lotus before being outlined. Other people wouldn't be able to do this, but his spirit sense was something else. When Emo fuzzily saw the original image, his hands almost shook, nearly crushing this jade slip. Was I thinking too much? Emo put away the jade slip, still feeling his hands were shaky. He clearly saw a clear mind lotus, not Spirit Red Lotus. These two looked similar, but Red Lotus was dark red while Clear Mind Lotus was snow white. One was level 6 immortal spirit herb, one had no level. Emo had decided to go see. There was still half a month before the Blue Lightning Mountain opened. He could check it out. Thinking about this, Emo had decided to leave the city. He would find a quiet place to study this jade slip first. Emo sped out of Chingemo Immortal City, and just when he wanted to find a place, a blue figure dashed out of the city quickly and left on the flying magic artifact. Emo recognized this figure. It was the kind-hearted Great Extreme Immortal that rented them the cultivation home. She didn't go very far and a gray figure came out. He took out a mirror and scanned before releasing his flying magic artifact, following to the direction the female immortal disappeared to. It was another Great Extreme Immortal. Emo hesitated for a moment and followed over with Blue Moon. Emo was weaker than both of them, but his spirit sense was stronger than both of them. The blue-dressed female immortal was Great Extreme Immortal Primary Stage, while that gray-robed immortal was Great Extreme Immortal Middle Stage. Emo's spirit sense was Great Extreme Immortal Tertiary Stage. Plus his cultivation method was good at stealthing, so the two didn't notice him at all. Emo was weaker than both of them, but his spirit sense was stronger than both of them. The blue-dressed female immortal was Great Extreme Immortal Primary Stage, while that gray-robed immortal was Great Extreme Immortal Middle Stage. Emo's spirit sense was Great Extreme Immortal Tertiary Stage. Plus his cultivation method was good at stealthing, so the two didn't notice him at all. 4 hours later, the Great Extreme Immortal suddenly sped up. The female immortal immediately noticed she was being followed, but at this time, there was no time to get away. The gray-robed Great Extreme Immortal already stopped the female immortal. Emo immediately hid on the side. This female immortal helped him once. If possible, he wanted to help her too. When he saw the blue-dressed female immortal stop, she didn't seem to be scared of this Great Extreme Immortal, and scanned around instead with her spirit sense. "Why are you following me?" The female immortal stared coldly. "The demon seal sword you bought from the auction is my friend's name a price. I need to take it back." The gray-robed immortal said calmly and released a pitchfork. The female immortal sneered. "You were there at the auction, do you not know the price? If you have to have it, then give it to me the price I bought it for." "Impossible, that's my friend's thing. You want me to take it back with the price of the auction?" The gray-robed Great Extreme Immortal's tone went cold. "What has your friend got to do with me? If you want it, then pay me the immortal crystals I paid for it." The blue-dressed female immortal grunted. "Then don't blame me then." The Great Extreme Immortal shook his pitchfork, turning into rings of shadows looming over at the female immortal. The female immortal didn't fear at all. She shook her hands, shaking out countless blue rings. Emo couldn't even see what her magic artifact was. The female immortal sneered. "You want the demon seal sword? Don't think I don't know what you want. You want me 3-leaf blue jia." Moments later, the blue rings locked the flurry of pitchfork shadows. The space nearby rumbled. The forest below seemed to have been devastated by a tornado. Hearing this, Emo realized what was going on. 3-leaf blue jia was level 6 immortal spirit herb, used to concoct extreme jia pill. Extreme jia pill is the main pill for Great Extreme Immortal to break through to Great Eternity Immortal. It can increase the chances by 40%. These two were both Great Extreme Immortal. One could imagine how important the 3-leaf blue jia was to them. Seeing the force of the battle, Emo was shocked. He could kill Great Unity Immortal, but he was certain that he was no match for Great Extreme Immortal now. Even if he wanted to help, he didn't dare to help now. If the difference between the two was too high, he would rather not come out. Rumble! The explosions and tearing immortal essence formed a huge explosion whirlpool in a radius of few kilometers. Luckily, the space of the immortal realm was stable otherwise. With such power, space itself would collapse. Emo didn't dare to help, but he saw the battle. He thought the female immortal would be weaker than the great extreme immortal, but after fighting for a while, they were evenly matched. The great extreme immortal frowned, clearly not expecting this outcome. The female immortal didn't expect this too. There was a sliver of desperation in her eyes. Emo knew if he helped now, the great extreme immortal probably would be defeated, but he wasn't going to. Although the female immortal helped him once, he didn't know what sort of person she was. If she was someone to annihilate people to steal information, then it would be no good. Just when Emo was hesitating, the female immortal took out a rune. That rune instantly released terrifying force. Even at more than 10 kilometers away, Emo could feel the threat of death. Before Emo could react, the huge explosion sounded. When Emo recovered his senses, that female immortal was long gone. Such terrifying rune, Emo was thinking what he should do if he encountered such rune. Even his immortal nirvana body would be heavily injured under such explosion. The gray-robed great extreme immortal also disappeared. Was he killed? Thinking about this, Emo immediately felt an extreme sense of danger. Without hesitation, he slashed out with Zisu. Crack! Zisu clashed with the pitchfork. Emo flew back a few hundred meters before stopping. You didn't die? Emo stared at the great extreme immortal. This guy instead found where he was and ambushed him. If this great extreme immortal wasn't heavily injured and he reacted fast, he would be dead now. But Emo wasn't scared much. This great extreme immortal's chi was messy and quite injured. His power was only about great unity immortal now. This great extreme immortal was shocked. He was heavily injured, but even so, he was still equivalent to a great unity immortal tertiary stage. This guy was a mere abstruse immortal middle stage. He didn't kill him in one move. How was this possible? Why did you ambush me? Emo grabbed Zisu and asked coldly. Ambush you? You dared to follow me. Of course I'm going to kill you. The great extreme immortal wasn't certain if Emo followed him. If an abstruse immortal middle stage could follow a great extreme immortal without him noticing, he didn't dare to believe. Emo frowned. I follow you? You're clearly much stronger than me. How can you not notice me following? I just saw people were fighting here, so I came to visit, and then there was an explosion. Seeing Emo deny, the great extreme immortal was confused. He was just guessing before. But regardless, Emo was just an abstruse immortal, he could kill him easily. Feeling the great extreme immortal's killing intent, Emo quickly took out a long sword. Wanbei offended Qianbei. This sword can be my compensation. Level 7 immortal artifact? The great extreme immortal called out in shock. This was top grade immortal artifact. Even his pitchfork was only a fake level 7. Emo needed this moment of daze. Emo released World Rock and tens of Spirit Sense blades. Even though he was wary of Emo, the great extreme immortal didn't expect a mere abstruse immortal middle stage dared to suddenly attack him. Rumble, the World Rock turned into a mountain and smashed down. The great extreme immortal could only barely use the pitchfork to stop the World Rock, but his spirit sense slowed and he couldn't release it in time. Crack! The pitchfork was smashed head-on by the World Rock and immediately cracked. However, it still stopped the World Rock. I'm going to tear. The great extreme immortal spat a mouthful of blood and was furious. However, before he finished, Zisu came over. Shadowless attack. Splurge. Zisu sliced on the great extreme immortal. This all happened so quickly that the great extreme immortal didn't have any time to react. Even so, Zisu that should have hacked the great extreme immortal in half only left a deep mark on his chest. Die. The great extreme immortal punched Yemo's chest. Yemo spat a mouthful of blood and flew back, but his immortal nirvana body prevented him from exploding on the spot. Immortal nirvana body? The great extreme immortal who was bloodied said in shock. Realizing he would get nothing, Yemo left without hesitation. With such a terrifying explosion here, it would definitely attract immortals. In less than 5 minutes, a few dashing lights landed here. Great extreme immortal self-destruction? A brown-robed immortal said in shock. The few other immortals looked at each other and nodded, instantly leaving. No matter what it was that caused a great extreme immortal to self-destruct, it wasn't something they could mess with. Yemo seemed to be covered in blood, but he recovered quickly. That great extreme immortal's punch was terrifying, but he had an immortal nirvana body, and the great extreme immortal was heavily injured. Now, he had pretty much recovered. After finding a distant valley, Yemo changed a set of clothes. Before he could clean himself, 2 more dashing lights came. Yemo immediately hid on the side. These 2 were abstruse immortal tertiary stage. The taller abstruse immortal asked, "Brother me, is it here?" "Yes, look at that small peak. Last time I saw white light dashing into the sky from there. I'm certain that thing is nearby." The other abstruse immortal answered. The tall one frowned and said, "That's the most complicated terrain of the Kongji range. In the depths there are level 4 and even level 5 immortal spirit beasts. It's hard for us to find something." Hearing this, Yemo was surprised. He didn't expect he came to the Kongji range. The 2 spoke for a while and dashed into the depths of the ranges. Yemo didn't come out. He scanned his spirit sense into that jade slip. The more Yemo looked, the more he was excited. He hadn't seen clear mind lotus before, but he knew what it was. It had 2 leaves, and the middle white part was the seed. The lotus didn't grow on the mountain, it was in a lake. The lake was almost 1 km long and floated in the sky. There was a row of words, Kongji Mountain Clear Lotus. Shi Jinkong left it. If it's not a Shi family descendant who takes it, please take care of the Shi family a little. Crack. The jade slip cracked and turned to dust while a jade piece dropped. Yemo looked at this jade piece in annoyance. It seemed to be one that needed to be activated with blood. There were the words Shi Jinkong. Yemo realized what happened. Shi Jinkong found an immature clear mind lotus. For some reason, this jade slip didn't fall into the hands of the Shi family. The image was obscure and made many people think it was broken, but Shi Jinkong did this on purpose. Only those with great eternity immortal spirit sense or higher could see it. Yemo's spirit sense wasn't great eternity immortal level, but he had spirit will 9 transformations. Without a doubt, this was left for the descendants of the Shi family. Yemo was grateful to Shi Jinkong, but he wasn't going to spend time to find his descendants. Who knew how long Shi Jinkong had been dead for and who she was? How could he find his descendants? Yemo just needed to find the lake now. Yemo knew it wasn't easy, but suddenly thinking about the words of the 2 abstruse immortals, one of them said white light dashing into the sky. Wasn't that the symptom of the clear mind lotus about to reach maturity? The second symptom was white mist. When the second symptom came out, almost everyone would know clear mind lotus was ripe. The Kongji mountain range wasn't small, but if everyone knew the clear mind lotus was about to mature, even great eternity immortal wouldn't be able to get a share, much less him. Thinking about this, Yemo desperately flew towards where the 2 abstruse immortal went. 2 hours later, Yemo was completely in the depths of the Kongji range. There was nothing else but thorns. There was no sign of those 2 abstruse immortal, and Yemo didn't see any lake either. Yemo just needed to find the lake now. Yemo knew it wasn't easy, but suddenly thinking about the words of the 2 abstruse immortals, one of them said white light dashing into the sky. Wasn't that the symptom of the clear mind lotus about to reach maturity? The second symptom was white mist. When the second symptom came out, almost everyone would know clear mind lotus was ripe. The Kongji mountain range wasn't small, but if everyone knew the clear mind lotus was about to mature, even great eternity immortal wouldn't be able to get a share, much less him. Thinking about this, Yemo desperately flew towards where the 2 abstruse immortal went. 2 hours later, Yemo was completely in the depths of the Kongji range. There was nothing else but thorns. There was no sign of those 2 abstruse immortal, and Yemo didn't see any lake either. A day later, Emo still didn't find the too abstruse immortal, but he encountered a level 4 immortal spirit beast. If he wasn't far stronger than ordinary abstruse immortals, he would have died to the beast already. This made Emo suspect whether those two abstruse immortals were eaten by immortal spirit beasts. A day later, Emo still didn't find the too abstruse immortal, but he encountered a level 4 immortal spirit beast. If he wasn't far stronger than ordinary abstruse immortals, he would have died to the beast already. This made Emo suspect whether those two abstruse immortals were eaten by immortal spirit beasts. 3 days later, Emo still hadn't found the two abstruse immortals nor the lake. He was very disappointed. Just when he wanted to give up, he thought of Shadowless. In the Mist Demon Palace, it was because of Shadowless that he found the place. Thinking about this, Emo immediately let Shadowless out and told Shadowless he wanted to find the Clear Mind Lotus. He even showed Shadowless what it looked like. Shadowless didn't disappoint Emo. He immediately took Emo around the twists and turns and found 11 level 3 immortal spirit herbs and 3 level 4 immortal spirit herbs. Another day passed, and Emo stopped at a crevice. He had been here once, but he found this place was different. This crevice was natural, and crossing it would bring him to the other side of the valley. Over countless years, quite some immortals must have passed through here, but Emo found that the weeds and low-level immortal spirit herbs seemed fresher here. Emo carefully scanned his spirit sense here and soon found that there was a battle here. The fresh low-level immortal spirit herbs were cultivated by magic to cover the traces of the battle. After reaching this conclusion, Emo's heart skipped rapidly. Looking at these immortal spirit herbs, they were just cultivated a few days ago. This was in accordance with the time the two abstruse immortals came in. They fought a battle and still used means to cover up here. The only possibility was that there was some stealth formation here. Emo began to search this place inch by inch, but half a day later he still found nothing. With his near level 4 formation great master skill, he still couldn't see what was here. How did the two abstruse immortals see something? Suddenly, Shadowless sent him a strong message. Emo immediately came to where Shadowless told him to go. There was a huge boulder here. If one didn't look carefully, he wouldn't be able to see what was special about this. Emo noticed that the immortal spirit chi below here was extremely dense. Emo carefully moved the rock and the space nearby immediately changed. Emo moved the stone back and the space returned to what it was. Natural formation! Emo was overjoyed. This was a natural high-level stealth formation. Emo moved that huge rock and the natural formation showed before him. With Emo's formation skills, he easily found the formation door and disappeared within the crevice. After going in, dense immortal spirit chi came and a faint mist hovered above his eyes. Before Emo could see clearly, an extremely strong smell came before him. Without hesitation, Emo smashed with the world rock. A sharp shriek sounded. A black figure was smashed away and instantly disappeared in this mist. This was a level 4 immortal spirit beast that wanted to ambush Emo. Emo didn't have the mood to check up on that level 4 immortal spirit beast. He stared dazedly at the white lotus before him. Clear Mind Lotus, Emo saw it clearly. 2 crisp green leaves decorating the snow-white lotus seed in the center. It floated above a lake surrounded by mist. It released extremely beautiful luminosity. This place wasn't a lake but actually the surface of extremely dense immortal spirit chi. Emo really wanted to move the lake into his golden page world, but when he looked around at the natural formation he gave up this idea. If he really did this, the nearby area would collapse and might bring immortal kings to check it out. Emo scanned his spirit sense around and didn't see the abstruse immortals who came in before. It seemed they were killed by the level 4 immortal spirit beast. Without hesitation, Emo came to the Clear Mind Lotus and used an extremely large jade box to collect the lotus. As for the root, Emo didn't touch it. This was the best place to grow the Clear Mind Lotus. Perhaps countless years later, a new Clear Mind Lotus would form. Emo didn't stay here any longer and left. Half a day later, Emo came back to his cultivation home. Jinbingyu still seemed to be in cultivation. Emo was very satisfied with coming to Zhongpiao Heaven. He got Spirit Will 9 transformations and the Clear Mind Lotus. Jin Bingyu would definitely be overjoyed to recover. This was even something of the dreams for Yemo. Yemo knew that after Jin Bingyu could recover, he would be leaving alone. He knew that the cultivation resources he needed weren't something ordinary people could afford. When other people got large sums of cultivation resources, they could find a place to go into solitary cultivation, but he couldn't. He had to keep going around searching for top-grade resources. It was because of this that he cared so much about the Blue Lightning Immortal Well and used all his means to go to the Ping Piao Plains to slaughter demonic immortal spirit beasts so he could reach the top 50. "You're back." As soon as Yemo came in, Jin Bingyu greeted him. She saw Yemo seemed to be in a good mood and had a smile on his face. Her dejected mood lightened up quite a bit. She knew that Yemo arranged her to stay here, but he didn't cultivate here because he wanted to leave the city. But she had been used to staying with Yemo, and now that she stayed alone in the cultivation home, she couldn't settle her mind. Just thinking that Yemo was about to leave alone, she was full of anxiety. "Come with me." Yemo pulled Jin Bingyu into the cultivation room. "Guess what happened this time?" Yemo smiled at Jin Bingyu. "Are you planning to leave the city after the Blue Lightning Mountain opens?" Jin Bingyu asked dejectedly instead. When Yemo rented this place for 10 years, she knew that Yemo wouldn't be taking her. She could feel it. Yemo still had a lot of secrets, and he didn't seem to want to expose these secrets in front of her, so it was inconvenient to take her. "Huh?" Yemo found the Clear Mind Lotus. He came back to bring joy to Jin Bingyu. Jin Bingyu stayed all these years with him, so even though she didn't express the loneliness in the depths of her heart, Yemo understood it. He did indeed plan to find a place to reach Great Unity Immortal and leave the city in search of new cultivation resources. But he was caught off guard by her question. Jin Bingyu's personality changed a little after staying with Yemo, but in her bone, she was still a cold woman. Jin Bingyu's personality changed a little after staying with Yemo, but in her bone, she was still a cold woman. Hearing Yemo's word, she sighed and suddenly took off her dress and walked up to Yemo, hugging him. "I know I owe you a lot, but I may never be able to repay you. Before you go, you can have my body, my virginity essence, and something else." Yemo didn't know what the other thing was, but he never intended to duo cultivate with Jin Bingyu. "Martial Sister Bingyu?" "Wait." Yemo quickly pushed her away, but when her hands touched Jin Bingyu's silky skin, he dazed for a moment. He had seen Jin Bingyu naked before, and even helped her dress and carry her around everywhere, but he had never had any emotions for her. Jin Bingyu was indeed pretty, even a little prettier than Susu. But Jin Bingyu wasn't his woman. The moment he ascended to the immortal realm, he wouldn't have any more woman in his heart. But Yemo only dazed for a brief moment, and pushed Jin Bingyu away. "Martial Sister Bingyu, you misunderstood me." Jin Bingyu looked at Yemo in confusion, but didn't get angry. To her, doing that thing with Yemo was to satisfy his lust and pay back what she owed him. Although she was a little curious what it would feel, but it didn't mean she liked doing that. "Didn't you say your Dao heart was different to mine?" Jin Bingyu couldn't resist asking. Yemo rubbed his forehead. "Martial Sister Bingyu, that doesn't mean this. I'm saying that that thing can only be done between people who love each other. I already have people I love, so even if I'm going to do it, it would be with them, not you." "So," Jin Bingyu smiled. That smile was enough to make any woman lose confidence. Even Yemo sighed. If this woman smiled more, she would be beautiful to the extreme. "Them? Is I because you love a lot of people?" Jin Bingyu asked plainly. Yemo felt his nose awkwardly. "Yes, they're a part of my life. I ascended to the immortal realm first partly for them." "Then would you have any more?" Jin Bingyu frowned and asked. Yemo shook his head. "No." Yemo didn't explain anything. He indeed wouldn't be interested in any other woman anymore, even Jin Bingyu. Although his Dao heart was different to Jin Bingyu, but it was very firm. For him, the people around him, he needed to reach the peak of Dao. "I know that after you leave this time we might never be able to see each other again. So I really want to give the only thing I can give to you. My spirit root is dissolved. I would never have an opportunity this lifetime. If the spirit root can still be repaired, then. Emo smiled and pulled her dress up. Other than saying goodbye today, I came to cure your spirit root, so you can cultivate again. What? Jinbingyu was dazed. Her mind was blank. If other people said this, she wouldn't believe at all, but Emo said this, she trusted it 100% already. Emo had never lied to her all these years. It's true because I got the clear mind lotus. Emo set up a few restriction and took out a jade box. The snow-white lotus was in the middle and a faint refreshing aroma came. Jinbingyu was dumbfounded. It really was clear mind lotus, she had never expected Emo would be able to find it. With this, it meant that her future accomplishment would be far greater than before. Not only would her spirit root be repaired, it would also be upgraded. With Emo's body refinement cultivation method and 3-birth god water chant. Jinbingyu didn't dare to think what level she would reach. Emo didn't say anything and just waited on the side. He knew Jinbingyu needed time to absorb this information. After a long while, Jinbingyu came back to her sense. She stared at Emo with fiery eyes and felt her heart was wavering. Who else would give her this other than her dearest family? Much less Emo, they were just using each other. The only dearest person she had was her master. Emo! Jinbingyu murmured and couldn't control the excitement in her heart, and embraced Emo. The first time it was to thank Emo as she knew she didn't have long to live, Emo was going to leave. But this time, she really couldn't control it now. It wasn't just for this clear mind lotus. They were just a team and she forced Emo to team up with her. After she was heavily injured, Emo didn't abandon her. He took her into the Heaven Domain ship, took her to the void to find void flying snow, and then went off alone to search for clear mind lotus. She realized that if she didn't recover, Emo wasn't going to abandon her. Her Tao heart was firm, but even so, a mark was made on it. Feeling Jinbingyu's body growing warmer, Emo also felt some fire in his heart, but he soon calmed down. He couldn't take the feelings. If he slept with her, he wouldn't be able to remove her from his life. Plus, he didn't fall in love with Jinbingyu. Calm down first, recover your spirit root. I'm indeed going, but if you don't recover I can't leave assured. Emo patted Jinbingyu's shoulder. He knew that if a firm-hearted woman like Jinbingyu fell in love, it was uncontrollable. The current Jinbingyu wasn't the real her, she lost her immortal essence, and her Tao heart was loose. If this continued, her Tao heart would be ruined and it wasn't good for the both of them. I understand. Jinbingyu slowly calmed down and stared at Emo answering. She knew Emo stopped her breaking Tao heart. She was very grateful. After Emo left, she would go out to search for her great Tao. If one day she could stand at the peak, she would go find Emo and tell him the feeling of that instant. If she can't even reach great Tao, everything else would be pointless to bring up. Taking over the clear mind lotus, Jinbingyu didn't say thank you. She knew Emo didn't need that. The lotus turned into immortal liquid that Jinbingyu slowly consumed. Jinbingyu sat and didn't move, a calm mist emitted from her body enveloping her in an aroma. Meanwhile, her power rose slowly. Emo knew Jinbingyu's power was beginning to recover. Her spirit root was not only repaired but purifying. From foundation establishment state to golden core state, and in a short while, Jinbingyu was at hollow immortal. The immortal spirit she gathered above her head and turned into immortal essence nourishing her meridians and dantian. Emo didn't stay here. He didn't know if Jinbingyu would regain her past Tao heart, but he knew she had her path, and so did he. Emo left a storage ring before Jinbingyu and quietly left her cultivation room and this cultivation home. He wouldn't be coming back here, at least not for a few years. Jinbingyu slowly opened her eyes. A long-gone sense of power came. She was only abstruse immortal primary stage before, but after changing her cultivation method and using the clear mind lotus, her power rose to abstruse immortal primary stage. The nirvana succeeded too. She reached immortal nirvana body. For the first time, Jinbingyu couldn't resist tearing. She thought she had completely lost hope, but Emo brought her such powerful hope. She immediately wanted to find Emo but found Emo wasn't in the cultivation room. There was only a storage ring before her. There was a troubled feeling in her heart. She couldn't express this feeling. She hadn't fallen in love before, she didn't know if this was that feeling. She scanned her spirit sense in the storage ring. Emo left the flying snow orb. There was even 3 great Unity Immortal pills and tens of bottles of other pills. These pills saved her countless years. Emo didn't even take away all the beast cores. He left behind 2 million worth of contribution points. Jinbingyu walked to the cultivation home door and stared at the road that she walked over with Emo a few days ago. This was the final day before the Blue Lightning Immortal Well opened. The biggest square, Blue Lightning Square, was full of people. There were more people than usual. This was the final day before the Blue Lightning Immortal Well opened. The biggest square, Blue Lightning Square, was full of people. There were more people than usual. People who had some inside knowledge knew this time was different as 3 of the Big 10 Immortal Kings of Zhongpiao Heaven came. This included Su Huan Immortal King, Kai Feng Immortal King and Ping Zhou Immortal King. There were few Immortal Kings in Zhongpiao Heaven, yet 3 came this time. Clearly something was about to happen. Emo was sitting in a spirit rest tower on the side of the square, drinking. His only purpose here was to wait for the Immortal Well to open and then leave. He was also watching the leaderboard, trying to ensure that he wouldn't be falling below top 50. He asked other people and knew that the Heaven Immortal leaderboard was very stable. But now, Emo realized it was utter bullshit. His rank went from 30 or so down to 41st. Now he was 47th. If things continued like this, he would definitely end up below 50. Luckily he prepared 3 million contribution points of beast cores, but Emo didn't use them now. He would use it as soon as he went below 50. Emo had been sitting in here for half a day, but he didn't ask about what was happening. It had nothing to do with him. However, on a table not far from him, a few immortals' discussion caught his attention. One of them spoke of his name. It seems that even if that Moing didn't cheat, I wouldn't be able to get into the top 50. I was 51st, but now I'm 63rd. A white-faced abstruse immortal tertiary stage said with great disappointment. 3 other people sat on his table. An extremely pretty and seductive female immortal, she was abstruse immortal tertiary stage 2. The other 2 was one long-bearded and the second dark-skinned. They were all abstruse immortal tertiary stage. Yeah, the Heaven Immortal leaderboard has never been so strange. It's the last few days, but the rankings are so volatile. Look, even Suji, who was first, is now 27th. The female immortal frowned. Something is probably going to happen in the Immortal City, right? The dark-skinned abstruse immortal said. But what has that got to do with the leaderboard? The long-bearded abstruse immortal shook his head. Hua Mountain, look at the notice. The dark-skinned abstruse immortal pointed at the notice board next to the leaderboard. Emo saw the notice too. After the opening of the Immortal Well this time, the top 50 of the Heaven Immortal leaderboard will be representing Zhongpiao Heaven to go to Yuanle Heaven and participate in the Dao-seeking competition. Isn't Yuanle Heaven the number 1 heaven domain of the Middle Heaven domains? It's said to be equivalent to a Grand Heaven domain. I heard that the Dao-seeking tournament was the top 50 of the abstruse immortal rank. Why did it become contribution rank this time? Is there a difference? Which of the top 50 on the contribution leaderboard isn't from the abstruse leaderboard? But Yuanle Heaven is too strong. It's said that even if you could go before, rarely could people enter Dao-seeking tower. How can the Yuanle Heaven not be strong with the Dao-seeking tower? Even some Grand Heaven domain immortals want to go to Dao-seeking tower. If you enter Dao-seeking tower, it would be you would definitely become great immortal and have 10% extra chance of reaching Immortal King. No wonder so many people want top 50 this time. I want to go to Yuanle Heaven's Dao-seeking tower. I'd be willing to pay any price. Emo didn't expect this turn of events. He knew Yuanle Heaven, of course. It was said that it was on par with ordinary Grand Heaven domains. It was the most powerful Middle Heaven domain. Emo only knew it was powerful but not why it was powerful. Now it seemed to be due to that Tao-seeking tower. He would go ask someone what it was later. In order to ensure that the prodigies of Zhongpiao Heaven aren't left out, the contribution leaderboard from 51st to 100th can challenge the top 50. Each person only has one chance to challenge. If the defender loses, he would lose his spot to the challenger. The defeated don't get any opportunity to challenge again. A successful defender will not be challenged again. But a challenger who succeeds needs to accept one more challenge if challenged. The eventual top 50 can cultivate in the immortal well for half a year before representing Zhongpiao Heaven in the Tao-seeking Tower tournament. Yemo saw his rank go down to 53rd, but he wasn't worried. He just needed to be in top 100. No wonder the leaderboard changes so fast. They all want to go to Yuanle Heaven, the female immortal said. Then she thought of something and said to that white-faced abstruse immortal, "Zhihong brother, you still have a chance. As long as you're in the top 100 you can challenge the 50th. You can challenge that emoing guy, emoing, look his name has fallen below top 50 already." The long-bearded abstruse immortal said. The white-faced abstruse immortal laughed. "I didn't expect I still had a chance. Let these people cheat, I'll greet them on the battle stage." Yemo didn't care about what they said. He walked up to an abstruse immortal middle stage and saluted with his fists. "Friend, may I ask what that Tao-seeking tower is?" The abstruse immortal looked at Yemo in confusion, wondering why someone didn't know what the Tao-seeking tower was, but he quickly said, "There are 9 levels to the Tao-seeking tower. It's said that immortals can create their own Tao art and God art. The laws of the universe are gathered in the Tao-seeking tower. Immortals can easily combine all they've learnt into their own God art." Yeah, it's because the Tao-seeking tower is so insane and all the prodigies in Yuanle Heaven can go there that Yuanle Heaven is stronger than other heaven domains. But luckily there's a Tao-seeking tower tournament every 1,000 years. Otherwise, the other heaven domains would only be getting worse and worse. One abstruse immortal said. The first abstruse immortal shook his head. Although Yuanle Heaven's power is directly related to the Tao-seeking tower, its cultivation resource and immortal spirit chi isn't something other heaven domains can compare with. They didn't become the number 1 middle heaven domain due to luck. Yemo quickly asked. Why are there 9 levels of the Tao-seeking tower? The abstruse immortal said. The 9 levels are based on each person's understanding of Tao. Usually, hollow immortals can only stay at level 1. If a hollow immortal can reach level 2, he would be a prodigy amongst prodigy. Abstruse immortal usually stay at level 3, rarely can one reach level 4. Can the immortals of Yuanle Heaven go to Tao-seeking tower at any time? Of course not. Only a few rare prodigies can go in or once you satisfy some requirements. What's the requirements? That I don't know, but I only know it's not easy. Although there's 50 from Zhongpiao Heaven going there, but it would be extremely lucky if 1 or 2 of them can even get in. Hearing this, Yemo realized that the Tao-seeking tower was pretty much made for him. Yemo felt his lightning sword could slaughter large amounts of low-level enemies, but against people who were stronger than him in cultivation level, it couldn't settle the score. He felt it last time when he fought that great extreme immortal. He wanted to go into solitary cultivation to refine his lightning sword. This Tao-seeking tower was perfect for him. Yemo felt his lightning sword could slaughter large amounts of low-level enemies, but against people who were stronger than him in cultivation level, it couldn't settle the score. He felt it last time when he fought that great extreme immortal. He wanted to go into solitary cultivation to refine his lightning sword. This Tao-seeking tower was perfect for him. Other than his lightning sword, his illusion cloud sword technique was the same. Although he lacked the 9th strike, Yemo knew it was because he was at a bottleneck and didn't want to create a 9th strike. His illusion cloud sword technique also needed to form into a god art. Otherwise, he would have some difference between top masters. That Yen Jiutian gave Yemo a strong warning bell. As for the world rock, it was worse. He just used his immortal essence and spirit sense to smash. Yemo also realized later that the reason his world rock wasn't as strong as Yen Jiutian's black mist wasn't because his world rock was weak, but that his world rock didn't have its own god art, while Yen Jiutian's mist was a god art. Yemo had made up his mind that he must go to the Tao-seeking tower. As more and more immortals came to the Blue Lightning Square, the immortals sitting in the Spirit Rest Tower also rushed down. From others' discussion, Yemo just realized that the tournament for going into the Blue Lightning Immortal Well had begun. Yemo left the Immortal Rest Tower as well and put all his beast cores into the contribution jade card. He didn't need to save beast cores now. If he was squeezed out of top 50, he would fight for a spot. A few million contribution points were thrown into the jade card. Yemo's jade card immediately became 14 million. Yemo noticed his name. His rank rose from 53rd to 21st. It didn't seem he needed to challenge anyone now. He just needed to accept someone's challenge, and he would be in the top 50. Everyone was watching the leaderboard right now. Emoing suddenly rose to 21st, and immediately caught everyone's attention. Who is this guy? How come I've never heard of him? I saw him before, he only got on the leaderboard in these few months. A month ago, his name drastically rose up. He did it again this time. Just how many immortal crystals did he spend on buying beast cores? Without a doubt, he's the disciple of a powerful being, or he has a powerful sect behind him. Perhaps he's the young master. Don't challenge this person. Even if you beat him, who knows if people would come looking for trouble with you. Yeah, such a person isn't ordinary. It's 20 immortal crystals a contribution point. Now it's 80 to 100 a contribution point. Who can afford this many beast cores at such a time? Hearing these discussions, Yemo shook his head. He had no support. He got all of his beast cores from his hard work. Just when he wanted to change places, Yemo heard a loud explosion. A few immortals landed on the stage. Yemo looked at the abstruse immortal primary stage next to him and asked, "Who are these people? They don't seem ordinary." The immortal saw Yemo's cultivation level was higher than his and quickly said, "Friend, you just got to Zone Piao Heaven, right? The person wearing the gray hair tie is the #1 master of Zone Piao Heaven abstruse immortals, Ouyang Yi. He's the first of the Zone Piao Heaven abstruse rank. He can definitely get a spot in the Tao-seeking tournament." Yemo looked at Ouyang Yi's name, 7th on the contribution ranking. The one standing behind him wearing blue robes is the 4th of the abstruse rank, Chu Xiangzi. The female immortal next to Ouyang Yi is the Purple Rain Goddess. She's not only the top beauty of Zone Piao Heaven but also 2nd on the abstruse ranking. See that abstruse immortal with a long sword on his back? He's Su Ji, abstruse rank number 9. This abstruse immortal primary stage was clearly proud of these people and admired them. Chu Xiangzi was contribution ranking number 1. Su Ji was originally first on the contribution ranking, but now he was almost 30. Purple Rain Goddess was ranked 9th on the contribution ranking. It seemed they didn't care about the contribution ranking at all. To them, they could get whatever rank they wanted. These abstruse immortals were at least abstruse immortal tertiary stage. Most of them were peak stage. There was not a single abstruse immortal middle stage like Yemo. A few more dashing lights came in through this abstruse immortal primary stage. Yemo knew that they were also ranked ahead on the abstruse ranking. Pretty much all the people on the abstruse ranking came. Ouyang Yi and Purple Rain Goddess seemed prideful. Yemo could feel the superiority coming from the bottom of their hearts. As though standing here wasn't their honor but the honor of the Blue Lightning Square. Yemo could tell this superiority was probably due to their background. Perhaps they were from status immortal sections. Chu Xiangzi and Su Ji seemed calm. They didn't act like they were superior. Especially that Su Ji. Yemo felt he had more potential than Ouyang Yi. That long sword hanging behind his back didn't seem ordinary too. People who were similar gathered together. Immortals were the same too. The top 10 of the abstruse immortals formed their own circle. The Great Unity Immortals formed their own circle too. Solo cultivators like Yemo or the lowest abstruse immortals could only listen in to them talking. Even if you added something, people would ignore you. Yemo didn't want to participate in such high talks. Yemo walked around the square. There were quite some shops and stalls, but not a single thing he was interested in. Despite this, he did buy quite some maps of the 11 Middle Heaven domains. Half a day passed quickly. As more and more people came, 3 rainbow clouds landed in the center of the square. Yemo couldn't tell their exact power, but he was certain they were immortal kings. Any one of them could kill him with a finger. This feeling made Yemo very annoyed. He calmed himself down and cast these thoughts aside. The square fell silent as the 3 immortal kings came. Yemo had seen one of them, the green-robed Su Huan immortal king. The other 2 would probably be Kai Feng and Ping Zhou immortal king. Standing in front of Su Huan immortal king was a white-robed immortal king. His face was square, and he seemed to be the head of the 3 immortal kings. He nodded to the immortals before waving his hand, and a yellow light was released. The yellow light instantly turned into a huge stage, and the 3 immortal kings were on the stage now. The white-robed immortal king then said, "I believe everyone knows me. I'm Zone Piao Heaven Kai Feng immortal king. Other than the blue lightning immortal well, I came here for a more important thing, and that is the Yuan Le Heaven Dao Seeking Tournament." Kai Feng immortal king sighed. "We from Zone Piao Heaven have always been participating in Yuan Le Heaven's Dao Seeking Tournament, but only one person has truly gone in the Dao Seeking Tower, and that was me. Pity, I could only stay around level 3 at the time. I can say that the reason I could become Immortal King was due to the great help from Dao Seeking Tower. So, I believe everyone now knows just how much help the Dao Seeking Tower has for cultivation." The square immediately burst into discussion. There were billions of immortals, but which one of them could break through to Immortal King? Kai Feng waved his hand. "Calm down, everyone." The scene fell silent immediately. Kai Feng nodded. "But the Dao Seeking Tower is the #1 Dao Tower of Yuan Le Heaven. Even people from Yuan Le Heaven need to be selected to go in, much less us. Yuan Le Heaven gave the other Middle Heaven domains 500 spots. We have 50 spots. The tournament is very hard, but even if one person gets in, I would be very happy." From his tone, the people realized that Li Nohua probably stole Mihua's rank through cheating. An angry-looking female immortal landed on the stage. "Li Nohua accepts your challenge." The female immortal attacked faster than Luo Xiang and released a golden cloth before she finished talking. She's stage was illuminated in gold. Some weaker heaven immortals couldn't even look with their eyes. The light was too piercing. "I'm not scared of you!" Mihua roared, and his black staff turned into a black dragon. It was obvious that Mihua was much stronger than that Gongyu. In 5 minutes, Li Nuhua was struck in the back by the dragon's tail and spat a mouthful of blood falling off the stage. Yemo could tell that heavy injury was intentional. If she didn't do that, she might die. Mihua came up with killing intent. "Second round, Mihua's victory, top 50 defender," the Great Eternity Immortal announced. Mihua would still need to fight again if challenged. Yemo knew that it would be best to challenge Mihua now if someone wanted to. Mihua was also injured a little in the fight. The other immortals could clearly see this too. Before Mihua stood steady, an abstruse immortal peak stage got up. Heaven Immortal Sect Contribution ranking 64th Ji Xing challenges 47th Mihua. Ji Xing also attacked with his magic artifact immediately. Mihua could barely block it, but Ji Xing pursued the attack. Blood splashed on the stage. Kai Feng Immortal King shook his head. This method was a good tactic, but it was low. Even if Ji Xing won, he wouldn't get very far and his future wouldn't be that great. Yemo believed the same. But different than Kai Feng Immortal King, Yemo felt Ji Xing's future wouldn't be huge, not because he used this tactic but due to his mentality. Ji Xing just wanted every little advantage he could and didn't have a heart of pursuit. If it was him, he might use this way to beat Mihua, but his goal wasn't this victory but to go into Blue Lightning Well to cultivate. Yemo would use everything possible for his cultivation, but Ji Xing just purely wanted to use this advantage to beat Mihua. Yemo couldn't feel any perseverance towards cultivation on him. In a short while, Mihua was heavily injured. Looking at his hateful eyes, Yemo knew that there was an extra person on this guy's must-kill list now. Third round, Jixing's victory, defender top 50. Brother Zhehong, I suggest you don't challenge that Moing. Even without him you would fall below the top 50. Now that Yemo can stay at 21st, he definitely has the support of his sect. The skinny abstruse immortal was trying to persuade Ji Jinghong. Never mind, I just want a rank. I'll let that Moing be happy for now. When I have a chance I won't let this person go. Ji Jinghong nodded. After 30 rounds, no one challenged Yemo. Yemo knew that this was due to no one knowing him. If someone knew that 21 SDMOing was an abstruse immortal middle stage, in less than a second someone would challenge him. 2 days later, the challenges were over and the top 50 were decided. Everyone knew this tournament wasn't completely fair, but it could indeed let the strong people stay. Yemo was ranked 21st and was never challenged at all. Yemo stood with the top 50. When those failed immortals saw Yemo, they hammered their chests in frustration. They didn't expect there was an abstruse immortal middle stage in the top 50. Yemo stood with the top 50. When those failed immortals saw Yemo, they hammered their chests in frustration. They didn't expect there was an abstruse immortal middle stage in the top 50. Yemo felt a little awkward too. He was the only abstruse immortal middle stage in this 50 people. Those few immortal kings noticed too. Especially Su Huan Immortal King. She looked at Yemo strangely. Yemo noticed the red-robed female immortal who came with Su Huan too. She was in top 50 in abstruse immortal tertiary stage. She wasn't challenged too. The teleportation formation to the Blue Lightning Mountain was on the east side of the city. Yemo and them followed a great eternity immortal to the palace. There was 100 people here, 50 abstruse immortals and 50 great immortals. Other than these 100 people, many other immortals could go into the immortal well, but they would need to wait till after the 100 people went in. The top 50 of heaven immortal ranking get in the teleportation formation. After entering the immortal well, choose a place for your cultivation. When all of you get in, the palace would close immediately. The great eternity immortal reminded. Before anyone could say anything, the teleportation formation lights shimmered and in a few seconds Yemo and them were swept away. Moments later, Yemo found that he and all the abstruse immortals appeared in another palace. There were tens of small doors in here. A few abstruse immortals quickly chose a small door and entered. So this was it, each person had a set cultivation ground. Seeing more and more people go in, Yemo pulled an abstruse immortal peak stage and saluted with his fists. Immortal friend, can people have divine damnation here? The abstruse immortal smiled. Of course, if you reach great immortal, congratulations. Then the abstruse immortal quickly found a door and went in. Immediately, there was only Yemo left in the palace and only a small door left. Yemo quickly went in there. After he went in, the small door immediately disappeared and shut itself. Walking in tens of meters, Yemo found an immortal pond circulating with white mist. A dense immortal spirit chi surrounded Yemo. Yemo moaned in comfort. This was the best cultivation grounds. The pond wasn't big, there was a round jade cushion in the center. Although the well was called Blue Lightning Immortal Well, it actually had no element. But Yemo was certain this immortal well was much better than the one he found before. This was a diluted immortal pond and the immortal spirit chi was still this dense. If one cultivated directly in the well it would be even better. But the time is too short, only half a year. At most, he would be able to reach abstruse immortal tertiary stage. What a waste, Yemo sighed as he flew onto the seat and scanned around with his spirit sense. He immediately found that the immortal spirit chi came from the cushion below him. If he took out time formation disc, Yemo was certain he could reach abstruse immortal peak stage in such a place, and even use this pond to suck over most of the nutrition from the immortal well, but in here he didn't dare to take out the time formation disc no matter what. He didn't even dare to use the golden page world too. Time formation disc had time law. If an immortal king looked over, he would see it. Yemo admired those who were abstruse immortal peak stage. If they had Great Unity Immortal Pill, then they might be able to break through to Great Unity Immortal here. Wait, Guillermo suddenly thought of something. What if someone going to the tournament reached Great Unity Immortal here? He thought of what that abstruse Immortal Peak stage said. Some of them would have to break through to Great Unity Immortal if they continued to cultivate here, so why did they still come in? Guillermo slapped his head and realized. He wasn't prepared at all. They couldn't cultivate here but still went in. Clearly they only had one purpose, and that was to collect the pond water. Then they would be able to cultivate wherever they wanted. Guillermo sighed. He knew that to refine the pond water here must have formation. Those abstruse immortals must have prepared all sorts of formation discs and storage magic artifact. He was the only one not prepared. Luckily he didn't need all that. He was a level 3 immortal formation master, and had the golden page world. Realizing this, Guillermo stopped cultivating. He started setting up formation and completely barricaded this place before collecting the well. Even if it couldn't stop the immortal king's spirit sense, it would at least let him know. Then, Guillermo started studying formation that could purify the water. It was hard for others to quickly study a new formation, but not for Guillermo. A month later, he could set up a level 3 purifying immortal formation. This was much more powerful than other people's formation discs. Plus, Guillermo didn't set up just one. He set up more. The flow of liquid from the pond went from drops to a small stream and then a big stream into the golden page world. When Guillermo set up the 4th purifying immortal formation, Guillermo knew he didn't need to cultivate nor set up formations anymore. The water he would get in half a year was definitely enough for him to reach abstruse immortal peak stage. The effect of what Guillermo did began to show up in other immortal ponds. Those abstruse immortals sensitive to immortal spirit chi began to feel less immortal spirit chi. Clearly they didn't expect someone to be this shameless setting up a level 4 purifying immortal formation. They guessed that everyone was cultivating and thus the immortal pond was being used up. Guillermo slowly changed all the level 3 immortal formation to level 4 immortal formations. At the 4th month, Guillermo felt the pond water lessen again, and even became scarce. He knew he couldn't keep purifying anymore. He had collected almost all the pond water here. He should leave some for others. Guillermo put away all the formations and even removed all the spirit sense shielding formation and acted like nothing happened and began cultivation. 3 days later, a powerful spirit sense scanned past Guillermo's spirit pond. It didn't stop and left after one scan. Guillermo was frightened, however. If he didn't think of leaving some for others, his spirit sense barrier formation would be found even if the purifying formations weren't found. Then, he would be the number 1 suspect. There was one more month. Guillermo just stopped cultivation. The density of the pond water was very low now. It wasn't much help to his cultivation anymore. So he just spent this month studying formation. There was one more month. Guillermo just stopped cultivation. The density of the pond water was very low now. It wasn't much help to his cultivation anymore. So he just spent this month studying formation. On the Blue Lightning Mountain, some immortals collecting herbs had been teleported out. The 3 immortal kings stayed on the mountain. Ping Zhou, immortal king, what did you see just then? Su Huan saw Ping Zhou, immortal king, scan the cultivation palace of the heaven immortals and great immortals and frowned. The 2 palaces had spirit sense shielding function. Even if an immortal king wanted to scan in, he would need help from the formation. Kai Feng also looked at Ping Zhou. The immortal spirit chi of the well suddenly became scarce, and they immediately knew. That's why they came to check. Before, even when half a year was up, the immortal well wouldn't become this low in purity. However, this time there was only 4 months and the pond became this scarce. Ping Zhou was confused himself. I saw nothing strange, just some abstruse immortal peak stage using formation to separate the pond water. Impossible. If they just use formation to separate pond water, that speed wouldn't even be as fast as their cultivation. How could it let all the immortal pond density drop this low, and even affect the immortal well? Kai Feng frowned. Perhaps the immortal spirit chi of the well itself lowered. I think more time needs to be in between the next opening of the well. Otherwise, this would only damage the immortal well. Su Huan said heavily. I agree. The Blue Lightning Immortal Well was one of the most important resources of Zhong Piao Heaven. There was a lot at stake. A month or so later, Yemo and the Immortals were teleported to the square. Although Yemo took more than half of the well, most of the Immortals who went in still grew in power. Yemo was the only person who didn't improve at all. He was still abstruse immortal middle stage. People said nothing, but some people still shook their heads at Yemo. It was such a waste for him to use such a good resource. Anyone else would be able to reach abstruse immortal peak stage or at least tertiary stage in half a year, but his power was absolutely the same. The great eternity immortal leading them and was there waiting for them, he said loudly. The immortal well cultivation ends now. Everyone has half a day to buy the pills and magic artifact you need. Half a day later, we will be taking Heaven Domain immortal ship to Wenchong Heaven Domain, and then take teleportation formation to Yuanle Heaven from there. Everyone couldn't wait to go out. Some abstruse immortal peak stage wanted to sell their purified pond water to exchange for pills. Others wanted to use their contribution points. They also needed to bid their sect farewell. For Yemo, he needed to spend all of his contribution points. He could exchange them at other heaven domains, but it wasn't much useful at Yuanle Heaven. He only had tens of thousands of immortal crystals on him. He needed to exchange all these contribution points to immortal crystals. Yemo could only go to big immortal towers to exchange immortal crystals. That would make him lose out a lot of immortal crystals, but it was impossible to exchange 10 million contribution points in a rush in the black market. Even if there was such black markets, Yemo didn't dare to go. One mistake and he could lose his life. The biggest tower in Blue Emo Immortal City was Shuangju Tower. Their immortal pill and magic artifact business was the best. When Yemo walked in, he saw a few people he knew already. They were all abstruse immortal who went to the immortal well. They were clearly preparing for the Dao-seeking tournament. When they saw Yemo come in, only one abstruse immortal middle stage nodded to him. The rest didn't seem to see him. To them, an abstruse immortal middle stage could only rely on help to get into the immortal well. Such person going to Yuanle Heaven was a waste. Yemo didn't care what others thought of him at all. He just came to the third level of the Shuangju Tower. It was filled with high-level immortal spirit beasts and materials. Yemo was very interested in them. Yemo bought a large pile of immortal spirit herb and immortal materials above level 4. Even the tower rarely sees a mass buyer like Yemo, so they just sent a female immortal to follow Yemo everywhere and attend to him. The abstruse immortal middle stage who nodded to Yemo couldn't resist coming to Yemo. Immortal friend, although we're representing Zhong Piao Heaven to go to Yuanle Heaven, we can't stay there. If you spend all your contribution points here, you would need to earn more when you come back. Yemo dazed for a moment. He didn't expect one couldn't stay at Yuanle Heaven. He was planning to not come back. Can one not stay in Yuanle Heaven? Not even if you go into Dao-seeking Tower? Yemo frowned and asked. The abstruse immortal smiled bitterly. Of course you can if you enter the Dao-seeking Tower, but how many can go into the Dao-seeking Tower? Even the prodigies of Yuanle Heaven can rarely go in. There's 100 people from Yuanle Heaven in the tournament, so in total, there are 600. One could stay behind if he gets top 200. But other than Martial Brother Ouyang Yi and Purple Goddess and them, the rest has no hopes. Yemo realized that this guy meant he had no hopes of getting into top 200. Yemo was very confident, however. He might not get first, but a top 30 should be fine. The reason he didn't dare to say he was number 1 was because the immortal realm was boundless and there were too many prodigies. Who knew if there would be a second and third Yan Jiutian? Thank you, immortal friend. Yemo saluted with his fists. The abstruse immortal saw that Yemo didn't really get it into his brain but didn't care and just left with the other abstruse immortals. The female immortal treated Yemo with even greater respect, hearing he was competing at Yuanle Heaven. Yemo was taken to a grand tower, and here he saw cultivation methods marked at 50 million contribution points, magic artifact marked at 40 million contribution points. Yemo couldn't afford any of them. Will illusion crystal? Yimo's eyes focused on a fist-sized aqua material. This was level 7 immortal material. This was the best thing to upgrade his Zisu with. The will illusion crystal could make the magic artifact feel ethereal and be traceless. This is why the will illusion crystal is 10 times more expensive than other level 7 immortal materials. Yes, Master. This is level 7 immortal material, will illusion crystal. It's one of the best materials for forging top-grade immortal artifact. Holding a magic artifact made with will illusion crystal can increase your power by 10%. The female immortal said. Yemo looked at the price. 63 million contribution points, so expensive. This was almost 100 million immortal crystals. The low heaven domain really couldn't compare with middle heaven domain. A black heaven domain immortal ship left Zhong Piao heaven and went into the void. A black heaven domain immortal ship left Zhong Piao heaven and went into the void. Yemo was in a luxurious room now. The immortal spirit chi here was extremely dense, and there were free immortal fruits and wines. He could go onto the deck at any time. This was his first time enjoying such luxury. The 50 abstruse immortals going to Yuan-La Heaven all had such rooms and had 3 immortal kings to protect them. They could ask immortal king questions at any times. Almost all of them tried to ask the 3 immortal kings all sorts of questions. Sometimes, something that troubled them for many years would be easily explained by an immortal king. This was unimaginable for any abstruse immortal. But there was only one person who didn't want such benefit, and that was Yemo. Other than asking Pingzhou Immortal King a moderately hard question, he spent most of his time in his room. If it wasn't to avoid suspicion, he wouldn't ask a single question at all. After he timidly asked a question that many abstruse immortals can answer, other abstruse immortals were speechless towards him. The question wasn't easy, but as an abstruse immortal who could go to Dao-seeking tournament, asking such question was not good enough. Yemo cowered behind the others and didn't seem to dare to ask a second question after seeing the contempt in others' eyes. When he returned to his room, he finally breathed easy. He just had too much pressure facing 3 immortal kings. Now that he asked a question and was sneered at, he wouldn't be suspected even if he doesn't come out again. Yemo spent all of his 14 million contribution points, and other than exchanging for materials, he also got 50 million immortal crystals. He gave the last 1,000 contribution points with the jade card to the female immortal serving him. Is that abstruse immortal middle stage MOing? Pingzhou Immortal King's spirit sense scanned Yemo, who dazedly sat in his room, and shook his head. Su Huan Immortal King nodded. Yes, I especially researched about him. He seemed to be lucky and found many beast cores that people hid. That's how he reached the contribution points ranking. He's in solo cultivator. He doesn't seem old, but his mind is too weak and can't take pressure. He doesn't dare to ask a second question just because he was laughed at. He doesn't even dare to face those who laugh at him. He really can't achieve much in the future. If his willpower was a little stronger and dared to ask us more questions, he would be able to reach abstruse immortal tertiary stage before Wenchong Heaven. This is such a waste of a spot. Pingzhou Immortal King shook his head. Kai Feng Immortal King laughed. Never mind, even if it wasn't a waste, one spot if useless to us. Ping Shui nodded and said, There are quite a few good seeds this time. That Ouyang Yi, Purple Rain Goddess, Su Ji, Chu Xiangzi and Su Huan Goddesses Mi Lan are all good. I'm quite hopeful towards this tournament. Perhaps this time we can break a record. Kai Feng Immortal King laughed. Pingzhou Immortal King, I think you missed one. That Mang Yong abstruse immortal tertiary stage is very good. When he challenged someone, he didn't even use his main magic artifact and defeated his opponent. When someone challenged him, he also won easily. You're saying that abstruse immortal with a red mark on his forehead? Pingzhou Immortal King asked. That's right, him. Kai Feng Immortal King nodded. On the deck 30 or so abstruse immortal were looking into the void. Doing this could not only improve one's understanding of magic but also enlighten one's heart and make it easier to break through in solitary cultivation. Did you see Ping Zhou Immortal King's face? That emoing wasted a spot. The 3 Immortal Kings aren't happy. Someone spoke about Yemo. Sigh, an abstruse immortal middle stage. I don't know where he got so many contribution points. Just look at his cowardly act, and you know he's not from a big sect. Wouldn't it be better to ask him to transfer his spot to someone else? Look at the question he asked. Should that be something asked by an abstruse immortal participating in the Tao-seeking tournament? My face was burning with embarrassment after he said that. Yeah, because of his question, the 3 Immortal Kings are doubting our overall ability. Never mind, that guy is quite self-conscious and stopped asking. He still doesn't come out of his room now because he knows shame. Plus, no one wants to miss out on the Tao-seeking tournament. You can't blame him. Ji Zhihong just realized now that Yemo didn't have any background. He was regretful. He should have challenged Yemo. A pale yellow-dressed female immortal suddenly sneered. Talking behind people's backs is very honorable? Then, the yellow-dressed female immortal left the deck and went back into her room. We didn't say anything about her. Why does she care? The round-faced abstruse immortal tertiary stage grumbled. I think we misunderstood the 3 Immortal King. They wouldn't be unhappy just because of Mo Ying's question. It's because Mo Ying didn't dare to ask another question after everyone looked down on him. That's why they are disappointed. An abstruse immortal peak stage stood out and said, everyone knew this guy. He was abstruse ranking 4th Chu Xiangzi. Everyone agreed to him after he said this. Some people even wanted to call Yemo out and tell him about this, but soon they gave up on this thought. They were afraid Yemo would disappoint the 3 Immortal King Masters. Mo Ying. Su Ji murmured this familiar name, remembering Mo Ying's ranking rising non-stop and eventually beating him. But this cheating guy was worthless to him. The immortal ship flew rapidly in the void. The abstruse immortals would either go look at the void or ask the Immortal Kings questions. One person was of exception, and that was Yemo. Everyone knew why he didn't dare to come out now. Later one people completely forgot about him. 3 months later, the ship stopped at the teleportation formation to Yuanle Heaven. Finally, everyone saw Yemo again. Many people had gathered at the teleportation formation. These people came from other heaven domains and also was going to the Tao-seeking tournament. Only Wenchong Heaven has teleportation formation to Yuanle Heaven in the middle heaven domains. If they didn't take teleportation formation, it would take more than a decade to fly to Yuanle Heaven. The teleportation formation to Yuanle Heaven was super long-distance teleportation formation. Other than Immortal Kings, everyone else would feel dizzy. Even Yemo was of no exception, but he was in a much better state than others. However, Yemo pretended he was worse than others. He heard that some people would stay in the Tao-seeking tower for 200 years. To him, he would just complete his god arts and then leave. He would never go back to Zhongpiao Heaven again. Yemo and them rested for a few days before coming to the Tao-seeking square outside the Tao-seeking tower. The square was filled with people. This square was much larger than the Blue Lightning Square. Yang Yi and them were prodigies in Zhongpiao Heaven, but in Yuanle Heaven, they were nothing. Zhongpiao Heaven's abstruse ranking was weaker than ordinary immortals at Yuanle Heaven. They clearly knew this, so they didn't act like they were superior as before. Yemo listened and was scared that an immortal monarch would suddenly come. Immortal kings couldn't see through his secrets, but what about an immortal monarch? Blood-clothed immortal Shuiqing Xian is here. See, that is Heaven Sword immortal Fu Lingtian. Oh, Xian Len Goddess is here too. Yang Yi and them were talking quietly on the side. Yemo wanted to laugh. They were glorious like that before, but now they switched positions. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.